Pure, good to see you. How you doing? Evening. How you been, Pure? Joe, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening. Comatose, good to see you as well. How you doing? Okay. So let's do a rundown of what we're going to talk about tonight's live show. By that time, everyone's tuned in for the first part of the live show. What's up, brother Miles and CMF? Do we have XRP news today? Yes, we do actually. I have one in the middle of the live show and one towards the end of the live show. And good to see you as well, Bill. How you doing? So on tonight's CMF episode, we have 120. What episode are we? We're in episode 175 of the CMF live show. So on tonight's episode, we are going to be talking about FTX. Now, for a while, I've been talking about how FTX is going to be essentially refunding everyone and how it's going to cause a bullish sentiment because they're going to be paying everybody back in cash and not in crypto, which means they're not going to sell, instead they're going to buy. And we finally got the judgment. FTX is going to start paying back people with interest. Then we're going to go through the news topic of the UAE on tonight's live show regarding UAE boosting crypto growth with VAT-free transactions, which is quite massive, actually. Then we're going to talk about on tonight's live show regarding the news of the National Bank of Bahrain, essentially ruling out its first ever Bitcoin investment fund, which is major news coming out of Bahrain. And then we're going to be talking about Solana versus Ethereum. Now, this perspective is coming from a bank. So a bank decided to do a report on who is a better asset for institutions to look at. Is it Ethereum or is it Solana? Then we're going to go through the news topic of essentially the SEC holding a urgent meeting, apparently. And could it have some possible links to a Ripple sit-down is what's been discussed. And then we're going to talk about UBS Bank, essentially predicting a major change coming to the Chinese economy. Now, we're going to go through how positive or negative that could impact the crypto markets. And then we're going to go through the news topic of Telegram on tonight's live show. Now, we all know that Telegram has obviously Ton, the ecosystem, a massive ecosystem, Ton. And it seems like the UN is doing a report on Telegram. And so far, the report has not been good on Telegram. And we're going to go through how that could possibly impact Ton's ecosystem. Then we're going to go through the news topic of a major news topic coming out, the US government. The US government has been approved to sell its Bitcoins if it wished to do so, which is major breaking headline news. The US government essentially getting a green light from a judge. If they want to sell their Bitcoins, they can. Then we're going to go through the news topic on tonight's live show regarding Donald Trump picking Gary Gensler's replacement already. We're going to go through who was picked and the positives this man could bring to the role as the chairman of the SEC when he replaces Gary Gensler. Then we're going to go through the news topic on tonight's live show regarding the SEC's approval for a landmark Bitcoin IPO. Now, it's not something that you hear regularly on the stock market or the crypto market space because we all hear about Bitcoin ETFs. But what about a Bitcoin IPO? Then we're going to go through the news topic on tonight's live show regarding JP Morgan. JP Morgan essentially announced that they did a report. So JP Morgan's analysts did a report today, and they came out and said what could possibly happen in the following months and how this could impact the crypto market space and what things to look out for and what to do. Then we're going to go through the news topic on tonight's live show regarding the Central Bank of Russia getting ready to launch their digital ruble. Now, Russia's central bank documentations do link to Ripple and XRP. And I'll tell you how once we get to that news. So, mixture of news to go from tonight's live show regarding Saudi, regarding United Arab Emirates, regarding Bahrain, regarding United States, regarding Russia. Quite a mixture of news to go from tonight's live show. But before we go through any of that news, I just want to say welcome to everyone. If you're watching this for the first time ever, welcome to the CMF live show. On this live show, every single night, you can tune in on X Live and YouTube Live, where I talk about the most recent news is happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, and we also do Q&As on this live show as well, and some quizzes sometimes as well. The disclaimer of this live show, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. This is episode 175 of the CMF live show. And if you're watching this for the first time ever, once again, welcome. And if you're a regular, let's go. CMF. The live show has officially started now. But before we go for the first news, which is regarding the FTX crash, let's go inside the comment section first before we go through that news. Let's see where we were at. We were at Dennis. Good to see you as well. How you doing? Camel. Hi, boss. Let's go, Camel. How you doing? Bill. Let's go. Stormy. Hi, Miles of CMF. Stormy. Good to see you as well. How you doing? Yo, Miles. Knox. Good to see you as well. How you doing? Morning, Miles. I'm confused with the time. What time is it there? We've moved forward an hour with daylight savings, but I thought you wouldn't have been starting in 20 minutes. It's 23. It's 23:14. I started the live show early by the looks of it. No, I started the live show early, so don't worry. It's not your fault. SEC, because we have a lot of news to cover. We might go overboard, that's why. SEC again, Bill. Yeah. Good evening, Miles, and all CMF. How are you doing, Miles? I'm doing great, GP. Good to see you as well. How you doing? When RLUSD is going live and utilities going through it, will it essentially rise XRP's price during the lawsuit? When RLUSD goes live and utilities going through it, will it rise? Look, regarding RLUSD is going to have an indirect impact on XRP's price point. It won't have a direct impact on XRP's price point, but it'll have an indirect, essentially, increase on XRP's price point is what it would have. Because it adds value to the XRP. It brings eyes to the XRP ledger. And XRP is stable. A Ripple stablecoin, RLUSD, will bring more eyes to the XRP ledger. And if more eyes come across the XRP ledger, then more eyes are going to go towards XRP. So therefore, it will have an indirect impact on XRP's price point, not a direct one. But either way, it's a positive one. And if we're going still through some lawsuit with Gary Gensler's situation, is it going to be a positive or a negative scenario? Look, if Gary Gensler is still trying to pursue this random case, and RLUSD gets launched, it's going to have an impact, a good impact on XRP's price point, but not a major law because it's still in some lawsuit situation. But an actual utility run, Gary Gensler can't even stop that one either. Missing the live, still in New York. Hopefully catch up tomorrow. Semper, good to see you. So how you doing? No problem. But yeah, if anybody's wondering, I was the one that started the live show off a little bit early. Nobody's times are wrong, just I started off a little bit early today. Because we do have quite a mixture of news to go from tonight's live show. So, also, thank you so much to everyone that's been retweeting this live show right at the beginning, who's been liking this live show right at the beginning as well. Absolutely amazing. Thanks so much to everyone that's been doing. I'm getting notifications on X from everyone retweeting and liking the live show. Now, FTX, which is the major news that's came out. Two major news, actually three major news came out. Four major news, to be fairly honest. But one of them is FTX. Now, I've been talking about FTX for a while now. You know, going through this whole judgment situation with the courts back and forward, and that once everything is settled and the dust is settled with FTX, refunds are going to be happening. And I said the refunds won't be in crypto, they will be in cash. I've been saying this for a while now. And they were. The refunds right now coming out of FTX, that are going to be coming out of FTX, are going to be cash with interest to their investors, which means a lot of people are going to be refunded a lot of money, which means they're going to be re-entering the crypto space, which means it's going to have a positive impact. So FTX cash repayment plans approved by bankruptcy judge. FTX bankruptcy plans to repay its customers cash plus interest was approved by the Delaware judge, despite a push for an in-kind reimbursement. Judge, essentially John Dorsey, the U.S. District of Delaware Bankruptcy Courts, ruled in favor of FTX's repayments, which could distribute up to $16 billion worth of recovered assets. 2 years after the crypto exchange collapsed, 98% of its creditors were approved to receive 118% of their claims in cash. While 94% of claimants supported the plan, essentially from a spokesperson for the largest FTX creditor community, argued for cryptocurrencies or in-kind payments. The judge ruled cash with interest instead of cryptocurrencies. However, Judge Dorsey ruled against the idea during October 7th, the bankruptcy hearing. According to the courts, the value of FTX's exchange, FTT, was essentially zero, and there was no case for potential price growth. Judge Dorsey also closed the chapter on the 2022 saga, which began with the collapse of one of the third largest crypto exchanges of its time. Documents showing that Sam Beckman-Fried's company misappropriated essentially customer funds and falsified financial statements cultivated in the fraud allegations from users and US authorities alike. Sam Beckman-Fried and other FTX leaderships were swiftly essentially apprehended shortly after the firm filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protections. Following the brief trials and multiple witness testimonies from Sam Beckman's inner circle, Sam Beckman-Fried was found guilty and sentenced 25 years. He is now attempting to appeal his rulings, believe it or not, claiming that judicial bias from the federal judge Lewis. Other forms of top executives like Caroline Ellison, Nishad Singh, and Gary Wong reached a plea deals with the federal prosecutors for reduced sentences. A judge also issued a 2-year jail term for Ellison, who was also one of the co-founders of FTX. Meanwhile, bankruptcy CEO John Ray III snitched essentially together a commonly asset and recovered billions for the assets. Ray described the remains of SBF's empire, that was whatever was left, a missing standard corporate controls and systems. The idea of rebooting SBF Exchange was discussed last June, but ultimately abandoned as there was no investors backing the pitch with capital. So, FTX's downfall is actually going to be a massive positive, as I've been saying for a very long time. I said FTX's essentially bankruptcy scenario was a massive downfall for the crypto space, a very negative way. And I said when FTX's situation ends, it will be a massive positive scenario because everybody's about to be paid in cash. Now, does that mean that $16 billion is about to be ready to enter into the crypto space? Not really, no. But the majority of that money could be headed towards the crypto space if people wanted to re-enter into the crypto space with their newfound money, which most likely they will, knowing how much progress has been actually made inside the crypto space with all the regulations, the banks, institutions, the ETFs, the IPOs. Who wouldn't want to be entering the crypto space is what I would say. So FTX repaying back its people with interest is a massive positive. Once the repayments start coming into the market space is when you see the market slowly starting to pick up. Now, UAE is what we're going to talk about next. The UAE is going to be boosting its crypto growth beyond what it's already at right now with a VAT-free transactions, setting the stage for innovation. In official communication, the UAE's Federal Tax Authority abolished value-added tax VAT on crypto transactions, marking a significant milestone in supporting the country's crypto adoption. So if people inside the UAE, never entered the crypto space because of maybe there was some fees that they don't want to pay, well, now it's even VAT-free. The removal of their VAT on crypto transactions in the UAE sparked excitement among the crypto community that other countries will follow suit. I'll be honest, it's definitely a pipe dream. I do not see the United Kingdom doing a VAT-free crypto transactions later on, or the American government, or the Canadian, or the Australian, or the Japanese, and so on. I think the only countries that will have the capabilities of doing a VAT, essentially free transaction on cryptocurrencies, is going to be the UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Qatar. Other than that, no other country is going to be doing VAT-free, but it's good to see they're doing it because it's still, going to be adding value to the general crypto market space. Even though it's still unclear whether the other countries will replicate the Middle East countries' move to a FTA, confirmed that the new legislation will take effect on November 15th with their free VAT transactions. The financial regulators announced important reforms to the executive regulation of federal decrees in terms of the law. Now, under the new essentially rule, the UAE nationals will be exempt from incurring added value taxes, while be exempted from incurring added value taxes when encouraging in crypto activities. The FTA clarified that the new tax reforms would affect not only retail customers, but also institutional clients. However, the new rule mandates that virtual asset service providers and fund managers to assess whether they qualify for the VTA exemptions. Once the new legislation takes effect, the FTA explained that the VSPs will be required to carefully examine their value-added tax obligations and revise their past tax filings. The new legislation defines virtual assets conditions under which the VAT will essentially be exempt. This implies essentially that if the new value-added taxes provision tax effects, the FTA might relieve the VASP taxes burden on past transactions. So people that paid taxes on their cryptocurrencies in the past could also get their money back inside the UAE. I mean, these are genuinely great ideas to be introducing inside the crypto space. Wish they just introduced them in the EU and the rest of the countries around the world, to be fairly honest. The financial regulators will allow the VSPs to file for voluntary disclosures to revise past tax, essentially returns accordingly in the UAE. However, the FTA plans to make the new legislations clear to support compliance. The removal of VATs on crypto activities encourages people from the Middle East to actively engage in crypto activities and enter the crypto space market. Remarkably, the new tax regime seeks to improve the attractiveness of Arab crypto markets to attract more investors. Apart from supporting the Middle East crypto industries, the financial regulators envision that new rules will bring innovation to the financial sector in the UAE. For years, the United Arab Emirates boosted on thriving on oil manufacturing, but lately the Arab countries have invested in supporting the growth of crypto industries, which they have. I'll be honest, the UAE is well ahead of the majority of countries around the world in terms of regulations and policies and so many other factors when it comes to innovation, when it comes to blockchain, Web3, AI. In the past few months, the Arab countries has closed the street partnerships to support the developments of blockchains and crypto technologies in the regions. Also, the Middle Eastern countries have been working to provide a comprehensive regulatory framework for digital assets. With the new tax regime, the market watchers expect other countries to support tax reductions for crypto activities. Look, one thing that will happen in the United Kingdom, in America, in Canada, in the EU, in Australia, in Japan, and so on, they will reduce their crypto taxes, but zero taxes is probably a pipe dream for the Western nations. But reducing taxes is something that they're working on, to be fairly honest, which is great for people who already own cryptocurrencies and also great for anybody that wants to enter into cryptocurrencies because it makes you want to enter into even more. You can make a lot of profit and pay less taxes. Besides making the UAE a crypto-friendly country, the new rules will help the Arab countries tap into a top-tier talents in crypto and blockchain technologies. The new legislation mirrors the amendments made by the government of Singapore to reduce tax burdens on essentially VSPs, which is true. Singapore was the first one to lead this to reduce the taxes, but the United Arab Emirates took it another step further by doing zero taxes in general. Elsewhere, the market critics essentially expect the US to follow in the UAE's footsteps and reduce taxes on crypto. Weeks before the US 2024 general election takes place, the community expects the implementation of a crypto-friendly policies to make America a global crypto hub. Do I believe America is going to become a global crypto hub? Yes. Believe it or not, America will eventually become a great global hub for cryptocurrency innovations. It will not get left behind. It might seem like America is going to get left behind, but it never will. But what the UAE has introduced, absolutely amazing, tax-free essential transactions on crypto assets. Amazing. It's going to get a lot more people entering the crypto market space. Also, about a week back ago, I revealed on this live show regarding news that came out of the Middle East again regarding the United Arab Emirates introducing a crypto exchange where it's going to be for people who are in religious essentially beliefs that don't want to buy cryptocurrencies due to their religion. And BitGet Exchange essentially partnered with the UAE, and they greenlighted the first ever essentially religion-based crypto exchange in the UAE, which is going to be used in Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain. And they can only buy, due to their religious purposes, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Ethereum Classic and USDT. Due to their religion, those are the only tokens that pass those religions, which means, one, those people who wanted to enter the crypto space can now get tax-free transactions. Two, they can only buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and essentially XRP and Ethereum Classic due to their religion purposes. So a lot more money is going to be heading towards those particular tokens, even now, slowly, because they're tax-free transactions also, which is amazing news for those crypto assets, but amazing news in general, because a lot more money is about to be entering the crypto space from the UAE. Now, what we're going to talk about next is another Middle Eastern country, Bahrain. The National Bank of Bahrain is rolling out its first ever Bitcoin investment fund. Bahrain has a lot of money to play around with, and they've decided to create their own first ever national Bitcoin fund. Before we go through that news, let's go to the comment section first. By the way, this is a live show, which means if you have any questions, put it down in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer questions you may have. I'm reading everyone's questions one by one and giving short and sweet, simple answers to get through everyone. I think I already read that one. Yep, I have. Missing the lives, I read that one as well. Okay, thanks, bro. No problem below, anytime. Do you think this appeal is just so they have more time? Do I think the SEC appealing the Ripple case is it because they won't have more time to implement an infrastructure? It's two scenarios. One scenario is this is a genuine case. The second scenario is it's not a genuine case between Ripple and SEC, and it's just one big show. So if we go by the perspective of this is one big show, then yes, they're definitely buying time for each other. If we go on the perspective that essentially this is one genuine case, then no, Gary Gensler is just being an a-hole as usual. Depends on which perspective we look at it. If we look at it from perspective, honestly, if we look at the perspective of this Ripple versus SEC case is just one big show, then they're definitely buying time for each other. But the other perspective of this is a genuine case, then Gary's just been an a-hole knowing he's about to lose his job. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Bit earlier today. Did I miss a lot? No, actually, you're perfect time, Pollock. So good to see how you're doing. Did they predict how long it would take to process all the FTX refunds? They haven't yet. It's probably going to take a bit of a time. But by the end of this year, they should be start refunding people, is what I would say. The UK and the US would have a heart attack if they didn't get their tax money. I agree regarding that matter. The UK tax-free country, never going to happen. You have a higher chance than, honestly, you have a higher chance of winning the lottery than the UK having a tax-free country. Or you have a higher chance of, winning the lot. Fire alarm. They're testing fire alarms. Sorry, everyone. They've been testing fire alarms all day long. Apologies, everyone. What is the SEC appealing? Do you think Ripple and SEC will settle? Possibility, but maybe not. It's a possibility, but maybe not. Hello, Miles. Scott, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening, Miles and CMF. Jason, good to see you as well. How you doing? I see I'm not first again. Scott, good to see you. How you doing? Evening, Miles and CMF. Manny, good to see you as well. How you doing? What is the SEC appealing the fine? Yes, and they're appealing the fine situation. But also, there's two perspectives. One is that they're going to be settling. So apparently there's a secret meeting the SEC is going to be having, and Ripple could be a part of that meeting, of a closed door meeting, of a sit down. And if they're going to be discussing matters of essentially, of having a deal done, then that would be the perfect time. We're going to go through that news on tonight's live show as well. But yeah, I don't think they're going to. I'll be fairly honest, because it's too difficult. Now, but yeah, genuinely sorry about the whole fire alarm situation. They've been testing it the whole day today. It was absolutely annoying. I had to keep on leaving, coming back. Good thing is I was out most of the day. Now, National Bank of Bahrain rolls out its first Bitcoin investment fund. The National Bank of Bahrain has announced the launch of its first ever Bitcoin investment fund designed for institutional investors. In the Middle East, Gulf Cooperation Council, formed by Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. All of these countries are involved together for a first ever Bitcoin fund. According to local media reports, the fund was developed in partnerships with the digital asset firm ARP Digital. The investment vehicle will offer investors exposure to Bitcoin gains, essentially capped at a predefined threshold with 100% loss protection on the downside. This structured investment opens new doors for investors seeking a calculated approach to digital assets, said the co-founder and co-CEO of ARP Digital. By leveraging our expertise in digital assets and NBB's essentially extensive reach in the financial sector, we have created a product that introduces Bitcoin exposures within a highly secure framework, he added. Bahrain has been gradually essentially attracting more digital asset business thanks to its efforts to create an innovative, friendly crypto and fintech ecosystem, which has involved putting a plate, which has essentially involved putting in place a clear regulation that balances consumer protection with essentially commercializing, according to Crypto.com's chief operating officer, Eric. Crypto.com was a part of this scenario as well regarding the Bitcoin fund that's been created. Bahrain's central bank to operate in the country in September, joining crypto exchanges Binance and local operators since March 2022 as well. Regulatory advancements were also made in the UAE in 2023. The Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority, overseeing cryptocurrency laws within Dubai, released comprehensive crypto regulatory guidelines for Web3 companies as well. The guidelines also consist of 4 mandatory rulebooks, 7 activity-specific rulebooks that define operating rules for VSPs, and 1 rulebook for issuing virtual assets. According to a recent chain analysis report, the Middle East and North African regions account for 7.5% of global cryptocurrency transactions volume between July 2023 and June 2024, totaling about $338.7 billion. During this period, institutions and professional investors accounted for the vast majority of the transactions. On-chain traffic in the region is primarily conducted through centralized exchanges through the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia has seen high interest in decentralized platforms. So, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain have all come together to create the world's, essentially the Middle East's first ever Bitcoin fund, which is massive because typically you don't see that happening. No, you only see, for example, one jurisdiction coming out. So, for example, you see Hong Kong come out on the news. Hong Kong is creating its own Bitcoin fund, or the US is creating a Bitcoin fund, or Germany's Bitcoin Parliament, for example. But a collective of countries coming together to create one fund is interesting to see. Interesting enough, every single one of them is incredibly wealthy. So, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates having a Bitcoin fund. That's a lot of money going to be added to Bitcoin over time, to be fairly honest. That's a very positive news for Bitcoin. If you are holding Bitcoin, that's a massive positive news for you. And also, it just brings more eyes on the crypto space in general, so which is good. Now, what we're going to be talking about next is Solana versus Ethereum. Now, this isn't going to be my perspective or a random perspective, Solana versus Ethereum. It's actually a perspective coming from a bank. So one particular bank, which I'll reveal who it is, decided to do a study report on which is the better asset for institutions to use, Ethereum or Solana, for institutions to use, a perspective coming from a bank. Now, other cryptocurrencies obviously are maybe better choices than Ethereum and essentially Solana in some people's eyes as well, for essentially a bank or institution to be using. But this particular report is on who's better, Solana versus Ethereum. Now, I will be reading this out to you, and at the end, I want your opinions. Who do you think is better, Solana or Ethereum, in terms of all their aspects? So let's get the bank's perspective first. So Solana versus Ethereum. New trend could tip the balance in Solana's favor, says the Saigon Bank. These are the reports. Solana is emerging as a potential challenger to Ethereum, according to this bank, in the battle for smart contract dominance. According to a recent report from the digital asset, essentially banking group, Saigon, the report highlights how traditional financial institutions may give Solana a crucial advantage, even as Ethereum holds a significantly larger market share. According to Saigon Bank, the Solana's current market share is much smaller than Ethereum, but the network's high scalability is becoming appealing to conservative institutional investors. Some of the well-known corporations that have recently painted interest in using Solana for different purposes include Visa, PayPal, and Franklin Templeton. Visa integrated Solana, for example, for USDC settlements and issued a report emphasizing the advancements of characteristics of the network, including throughput, cost, and stability. This decision reveals that some institutions may prefer scalability and efficiency to Ethereum more securely than slower networks. PayPal also launched Solana for stablecoins and revealed that Ethereum may not be for the best for payments. According to PayPal executives, at the Solana event. It is true. So PayPal was doing an event and regarding payments and cryptocurrencies and cross-border payments. And PayPal's executive actually came out and said that we originally wanted to go with Solana in terms of payments, but we realized it was extremely slow in terms of payments, and Solana makes no sense when it comes to payments. Actually, to point out, Visa also thought Solana was a great idea for payments as well, which then they ended up changing their minds because Solana was too expensive and too slow for payments. Saigon Bank also pointed out that the majority of the transactions volumes in Solana are due to the meme coin launch and tradings, which is true. Solana only has the money that Solana has coming in. It's not because it has major utility purpose from institutions. It's because there's a lot of meme coin action happening on it, which is not bad. Money's money. Still, tokenization platforms and stablecoins could shift the network's position in the market. With more financial institutions considering blockchain technology, which is facts, the emphasis on asset tokenization and stablecoin payments could be a significant advantage for Solana, the bank says. With Solana-based products, the platforms used are gradually broadening beyond the initial remedy. Over the past year, Solana has consistently outperformed Ethereum, rose by 524%, and Ethereum rose by 50.46%. Basically explains the several key factors of Solana's superior performance against Ethereum. One major driver is the popularity of meme coins on Solana's network, fueled by platforms like Pump.fund, the bank said. Furthermore, the Solana's network's low transaction fees and high speeds have remained a competitive edge even at the time of high traffic. These features make Solana a better, cheaper option, versus Ethereum, whether users have continued to incur higher fees and slower transaction speeds on Ethereum. Look, what's everyone's perspectives on that before I give you my perspective? So Saigon Bank comes out with a report essentially that out of nowhere, Saigon Bank decided to do this. They come out with a report and said that Solana versus Ethereum, which is the better outcome for banks or institutions to be ever, creating anything on the chain. And in their perspective, they're leaning towards Solana. And they, brought out a few facts, like how Visa chose to go with Ethereum, and then the last minute they decided to go with Solana because it was cheaper on transactions and faster. How PayPal decided to go with Ethereum, but then changed their minds because Ethereum was too expensive and slow, decided to go Solana. So what's everyone's perspectives? Do you agree, or do you have an alternative perspective? So do you agree Solana versus Ethereum, Solana is better than Ethereum? Or do you have an alternative perspective? I'll give you my perspective at the end. Let me just hear yours. For anybody that's also holding Solana and Ethereum, this is positive news for your Solana assets if a bank is coming out and defending you. When it comes to payments only, who's better, Solana versus Ethereum, or an alternative answer? Also, let's consider the comment section. Good evening, Captain Miles and the rest of the CMF crew. Let's go, funky brother. How you doing? So while everyone's answering that question, let me go inside the comment section. I thought Keir Starmer had heard you talking about UK being tax-free country, so the homes went off. Perfect timing, eh? Good evening, Miles and family. Orphan, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Miles, when is this meeting going to take place between Ripple versus SEC? We're going to get to that news, I think, next, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we're going to get to that news next. Miles, I'll tell you after. UAE has abolished all taxes on cryptocurrencies, pretty much all of them. Solana's cheaper gas fees. Solana has cheaper gas fees. Yeah. Good evening, Miles and all CMF. Adi, good to see you. How you doing? Ethereum is much better blockchain technology, which is used by a lot of ERC20 tokens. ETH just needs to lower the fees. I agree. JP, so that's Funky Brother's perspective on Ethereum. Ethereum is better than Solana. And JP's perspective, it's all crazy that these people are using Ethereum and Solana. Once XRP comes out, they're all going to go to XRP. I agree with Funky Brother regarding Ethereum, has a better share, larger share, just needs to lower their fees. I agree on that matter. And regarding even JP talking about XRP would be the better choice for transaction speeds and so on, I agree with that as well. Good evening, Miles and all CMF. Adi, good to see you as well. How you doing? George, hi, Miles. CMF, good to see you as well. How you doing, George? Mike, good evening, Miles and CMF. Good to see you as well. Mike, how you doing? Not better for sure, but cheaper. Okay, that's what Orphan says. Jason says XRP is superior. Funky Brother says even XRP has partnered up with Ethereum, so I guess better. Interesting perspective, Funky Brother. Adi says ETH and SOL can be both bad for transfers. I agree regarding Adi's. Everyone's got valid points, even though they're completely different perspectives. Everybody still has valid points here. Kamal says if SOL fix their problem so the chain doesn't fail, it's better than ETH, is what Kamal says. Shelly says Solana is faster and cheaper, but then says Ethereum is more reliable, but not my choice for payments, which is a valid point as well. Everybody's got such a diverse, essentially, opinion set on the matters of which is better, ETH or essentially Ethereum or Solana versus each other, a perspective coming out of Saigon Bank. And everybody's got extremely valid points. Regarding valid points of if Ethereum was cheaper on fees, it would be a great token. I agree. If Ethereum essentially, Ethereum is connected to the XRP ledger through a bridge, which shows that Ethereum is a good chain. I agree, because it has the most amount of volume coming into it. People saying that Solana need to fix their chain so they do become a great chain. I agree as well. Everyone's got valid points. Solana has flopped you, Miles, 9 times. It actually flopped me 11 times, but yes, I agree. G, good to see as well how you're doing. Solana has failed me in terms of transactions 11 times. So once I was trying to do transaction, the last time actually I tried to do transactions Solana, I tend to stay away from Solana that often, because the last time I tried to do transactions on Solana, my transaction failed 11 times. 11 times the transaction failed. It would not go through on the chain. It kept on getting an error message on Phantom Wallet. It wouldn't just go through at all. So I just gave up on Solana for a while and went to other chains that I can process transactions where they don't fail 11 times back to back. It is quite frustrating, because we're supposed to be going into this whole digital world where transactions are supposed to be faster or cheaper or scalability and so on and so on. And I can't process a transaction. I could never see that issue with Lloyds Bank. So if I'm using Lloyds Bank, not once even in my life has my transaction failed on Lloyds Bank. My transactions have never failed on Lloyds Bank, never failed on HSBC Bank, never failed on NatWest Bank, never failed on Santander Bank, but failed 11 times the process on Solana's network. And Solana, well, blockchain is supposed to be the superior of traditional banking systems. But how could it be when it fails 11 times in transactions? Also, Solana's ecosystem failed 11 times in general. The last time it went out was for 2 hours. So look, Solana and Ethereum, this bank is trying to compare Solana versus Ethereum. They're saying Solana is the better option out of Ethereum. I'll be honest, they both have their negatives and their positives. Solana has some positives and negatives. Ethereum has some positives and negatives. But neither one of them, in my opinion, should be used for cross-border payments. Neither one of them. Solana does not have the capabilities to become a banking token. It just doesn't have it. It gets congested too quickly, especially when there's a meme coin craze going on. And these are just facts. When it gets into the meme season, Solana is just forget about it. If you try to do transactions, don't even bother. Your transactions won't process. But yeah, I mean, neither one of them are good choices for a banking system. Ethereum is great to build on. Smart contract capabilities and so on is excellent to build on Ethereum. Also great to build on Solana. But in terms of a banking system, not the best choice. What would be the best choice for a banking system would be XRP. It was designed purpose for it. Would be XLM. Would be XDC. I mean, you can see their partnerships, tell you, a million different reasons why. So those two, neither one of them are, I think they're good as each other. I think Solana is as good as Ethereum. Ethereum is good as Solana. Neither one of them is topping each other, to be fairly honest. One of them is slow. One of them can't process transactions. One of them is fast on processing transactions. One of them is expensive on processing transactions. I'll be honest, so Solana and Ethereum, to me, are both like this. Neither one is above the other. Now, what we're going to talk about next, moving off Solana versus Ethereum, a perspective coming out of Saigon Bank, to SEC. Apparently, some news just came out today that SEC is going to be holding a urgent meeting behind closed doors. Now, it's spreading that this could be a Ripple closed door meeting with the SEC or not. Now, we are in that 14-day period now where the appeal situation is going on. So, SEC to hold an urgent meeting on a possible Ripple lawsuit scenario. The SEC has scheduled an unexpected session to discuss a prospective deal in the Ripple Labs lawsuit over XRP. This closed-door meeting could mark a turning point in the years-long legal battle concerning XRP's regulatory status and other scenarios. The emergency session will address key issues, including the institutions and settlements of administration processing. The conversation will also focus on the resolution of litigations claims involving Ripple. This legal case, centered on whether XRP qualifies as security, has had significant implications for Ripple and for the broader cryptocurrency industry. The Securities Exchange, however, maintains that the organization's actions went against the US's rules by offering the token without proper registration. A possible compromise could transform the safety atmosphere for digital resources. A deal could have profound effects on the crypto space, particularly regarding the future of XRP. If the SEC and Ripple reach an understanding with each other, it may provide clarity on the coin's legitimate position and impact how other cryptocurrencies are regulated from on out. Furthermore, it is anticipated that the verdict in the case will establish a standard for classifying digital assets. Notably, XRP's exchange prices has experienced fluctuations throughout the litigation, causing concerns for shareholders. Should a settlement be reached, it could bring stability to the token's value and offer reassurance to stakeholders. However, details of any agreements remain unknown at this particular stage in time. Will this agreement lead to a broader oversight changes for virtual assets? The outcome of Ripple's lawsuit is likely to influence how US regulators approach the sector in the future. Besides potentially affecting XRP's prospects, this meeting could signal the broader intentions for the entire blockchain industry. As digital asset economies continue to grow, constitutional experts and financials alike are watching for potential legislative shifts. Any decisions by the SEC regarding Ripple XRP could determine the future of other blockchains and companies and digital tokens in the United States forever. So, SEC is going to be having a closed-door meeting. Is it going to be Ripple related? We won't know from now. Later on, a little bit of time, I would say a few days passes, we'll get a better idea if it was a Ripple sit-down. Now, if it is going to be a Ripple sit-down, then yes, all eyes are definitely going to be on this meeting to see what resolution comes out of it. Look, the chances of the SEC, getting this appeal approved is very, very slim. If it gets approved, then this was one big show. If it doesn't get approved, then this was a genuine case. But let's see. Let's see if they're going to be doing a sit-down. If they're going to be doing a sit-down, they're going to do a settlement, or so on. But also, on tonight's live show, we are also going to go through another news topic as well, relatable to the SEC scenario versus Ripple, because somebody has been chosen to replace Gary Gensler. So believe it or not, there has been one man chosen to replace Gary Gensler. And I'll review who that man is once we go through tonight's live show. But this man, no, I'm going to leave it as a secret until we get to that news. So in about 10 minutes, you'll find out. Now, UBS is what we're going to talk about next. UBS Bank is predicting something major that everybody should essentially know about inside the crypto space, because China is going to be boosting its market space. Now, this could be seen as a good scenario or a bad scenario. And I'll explain what I mean once I read you the news. But let's go inside the comment section first. Let's see if anyone's got any questions. Lena, good to see you. How you doing? Hello, Miles CMF. G, good to see you. How you doing? T3HU says Sui is rocketing. Sui is doing well for itself. Joe says, what scenarios can you foresee if it is an SEC versus Ripple meeting? Sit down, probably. A sit down of some sort of discussions on the matter of should we settle, should we not, would be. It's the only possible reasonings of a sit down to have. Gary Gensler knows he's about to be replaced, so he's thinking to himself, let me make a quick buck before I get, tossed out the door. They might have a bigger problem on their hands with a class action against them from the retail if they keep this up. True, also. Very true. Sorry about that. The previous essential class action was tossed out the courts regarding California. But yes, true. Good evening, Miles. How you doing? Callie, I'm doing great. How you doing? Hyper Sniper, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? So, UBS Bank saying that the Chinese market space is about to get a major boost. Is it going to be positive for the crypto space or negative? Well, UBS Bank has recently predicted that China will launch a physical package from RMB 1.5 trillion to RMB 2 trillion. This forecast is expected to help to put more money in the nation's coffers and grow to almost the government set approximately 5% in the current year. So you'll probably think to yourself, where is China going to be getting these trillions from? Are they going to be printing more money, which could be bad for their economy in the long term? Are they going to be borrowing that money, which is also bad because they're a BRICS nation and it makes them look cheap? Because as a powerful BRICS nation, you're supposed to be borrowing money. You're supposed to be lending money, not borrowing money instead. So UBS chief China economist Wang Tao pointed out that according to the market views, measures must be within the range of RMB 2 trillion to RMB 10 trillion, but a moderate approach may be taken. Is it more advantageous for China to prioritize physical packages of 15 to 20 trillion yuan? Moreover, Wang expects physical measures next year from RMB 2 trillion to RMB 3 trillion on previous estimates. Wang also pointed out that the necessities of increasing these stabilize the real estate market space, reverses decline in prices and corporate confidence. It is true, China is having a major crisis regarding real estate space, a major one, which they're keeping very silent on. This approach will be crucial for sustaining growth at around 5% over the next 2 years. UBS's analyst also expects the announcement of this year's measures to occur shortly after the National Day holiday, or around the release of the third quarter economic data on October 18th. On October 18th, China is going to be making apparently a major announcement. So if you're inside the crypto space, get your calendars out and put in your calendar October 18th. China is about to be revealing something quite major, which could be a positive impact or a negative impact on the crypto space, depending on where they're choosing to get their money from. They predict that the next year's plan may be finalized during the Central Economy Work Conference scheduled for December. Chinese semiconductor stocks have recently been on the upswing based on this expectation of a start of a physical year, for example. Market sentiments has greatly enhanced across the market sectors after the announcement of China's package that's coming. Some observers think that they could further physical measures on the next round, which might come right after the National Day holidays. Shares in Hong Kong are also ecstatic regarding semiconductors. Manufacturing International Corp rose by 20% after China made such an announcement, continuing to 29% increasing records as well. The two-day rally increased the company's market capitalization by Hong Kong's $93.65 billion, which is around $12 billion in US dollars. Another competitor with much lower market capitalizations in Hong Kong Semiconductors, which has risen slightly over 40% since Thursday. The semiconductor sector's gains have contributed to a broader market rally in Hong Kong, with Hang Seng Index climbing 1.4% since the announcement of the measures. The index has risen 26% regarding analysts, suggesting that they expect the support from Beijing. So, China is about to be introducing a money package to their market space, to grow their market space, to make their market space more stabilized, especially their real estate market. Two market spaces right now are having major difficulties with their real estate market space. Believe it or not, it's not the US, it's actually China is having a major issue with their real estate market space, and France. France is also having a major real estate issue as well with their market space. So to fix their issue, China is going to be boosting their market space with trillions of yuan, essentially. And the issue is where they're going to get that money from. So UBS Bank's essentially analysts have predicted that China is going to be selling certain assets. And they've predicted that they're going to be dumping their crypto markets, their crypto assets on the market space, is one prediction. One prediction is China is going to be selling off their crypto assets on the market space. And the news is going to be coming around October times that China is planning on doing this. It's a perspective coming out of essentially UBS Bank It's not a confirmed, it's just an opinion coming out of a bank out of China. That China around October times is going to be coming out and saying that they're going to be dumping some of their crypto assets, or they're going to be dumping it in general and not mentioning it. Because they need trillions of yuan. And some of it is going to come from their crypto assets, some of it is going to come from other assets and so on. And this is the only way China sees their markets growing, because they need money quick. Otherwise, their real estate market is just going to go. And if China's real estate market starts sliding sideways, then that could impact the world market as well up to a certain extent. I mean, we saw Japan's situation. Japan's market space was going through small turbulence, and it impacted the stock market and the crypto markets. If China goes through a real estate issue, that's going to have a very big impact on the crypto space. So let's see, when October comes around, is China going to be selling off their crypto assets to fund themselves in other market spaces, like their real estate market space? Or are they going to get the money from somewhere else? If they get the money from somewhere else, good news. If they get the money from selling their crypto assets, then put a short on the market space. Happy Pisces, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Now, Telegram is what we're going to talk about next. Telegram has been going through major issues. One being the founder of Telegram being arrested essentially in France, and then, put on a bail situation. And then Russia on one side trying to get the Telegram founder out. And then the other side, essentially, we have Telegram being investigated in India, for example. Telegram being invested in South Korea is what I also revealed. And so on. Now, the other issue is that when Telegram, when South Korea at that time announced they're looking into Telegram, that raised questions a lot. So the UN has now got involved. The UN has came out and said that Telegram is a place for criminals and it needs to be heavily investigated. If Telegram is going to be heavily investigated by the UN, by South Korea, by India, by France, and so many other countries, that's going to heavily impact one particular crypto asset by the name of TON. The TON ecosystem, which was developed originally by Telegram, dropped by Telegram, so that because they were about to get sued by the SEC, and then later on partnered with Telegram as a loophole not to get sued by the SEC, is now being looked into. So Telegram is once again being looked into by this time around the UN. The UN is claiming that Telegram is an application only used by criminals and it should be heavily investigated. If a heavily investigation opens on Telegram, then TON's token is going to be heavily, essentially, impacted by price point. So if you're holding TON, or if you're thinking about going for TON, or you think about shorting TON, keep your eyes and ears open for particular news coming out of the UN, or tune into this live every single night. I'll definitely keep you updated. So, Telegram's reputation takes another hit as UN calls it home of the Southeast Asia cybercrimes. The app, essentially the trading app of hacked data, including credit card details. This is what the UN has said. The UN has said that Telegram is an application used by criminals for hacked data, including credit card details being transferred on Telegram, passwords of other accounts being transferred on Telegrams, the sale of cybercrime tools or viruses, malwares, deep fake software. The list just goes on. The UN made a very, very long list of all things that can go wrong on Telegram and have been going on for a very long time, according to their investigations so far. Telegram can't seem to catch a break. The UN report claims a storm of cybercrime is brewing on the messaging platform. It essentially is at its center as well. There is reportedly strong evidence that the UN has found that undergo data markets are moving to the messaging platform, targeting transactional organized crime groups based in Southeast Asia. According to the United Nations Office for Drugs and Crime, the UNODC, the report, these criminal groups in Southeast Asia operate by cultivating malware, generative artificial intelligence, and deep fakes through Telegram to find their next potential victims. Most of the criminal activities in these Southeast Asian countries are reportedly run by Chinese authorities using trafficked workers who are campaigned in forfeited compounds. The industry that's on Telegram, the criminal industry that's on Telegram, generates between this is the numbers are coming out of the UN, and I don't know how correct the UN is, or if the UN is estimating these numbers, but it's quite ridiculous. The UN is predicting that the criminal activity on Telegram is bringing in $27.4 billion and $36.5 billion annually targets victims across the world with various fraudulent schemes. So apparently, every year, Telegram, the application, the messaging platform, is bringing in 27.4 or $36.5 billion criminals are making from Telegram every year by scamming people. That is a ridiculously high number. The UN is reporting on this. The United Nations reports identified Telegram's essentially encrypted messaging and large group capabilities as the two main factors that enables these activities and other bad actors on the app. The UN report also identified more than 10 deepfake softwares, service providers targeting criminal groups in Southeast Asia. Meanwhile, investigations into the platform's role in online sex criminals and data leaks continue in South Korea and India. Yes, India essentially, and India and South Korea, with the UN's help, are heavily right now investigating Telegram. What essentially followed, South Korea is allegedly the country's most targeted by deepfake scams. Some weeks ago, there was a mass public outcry after deepfake illicit activities targeting females was what was happening on Telegram. The reason why South Korean authorities are right now looking into Telegram is because South Korea their authorities realized that their citizens, especially the women of South Korea, are being heavily targeted through Telegram scammers, which raised eyebrows on the South Korean authorities to look into it, which now they've opened up a massive investigation on Telegram with the help of the UN. What followed as an investigation into Telegram to ascertain whether it essentially admits online sex crimes. The UN report comes after Telegram's founder Pavel arrested in Paris in August. He was charged with allowing criminal activity on the platform while in detention. Pavel also was charged under new French law with no international equivalent. However, it might have set a precedent on the platform's liability. Pavel was released on bail, but investigations continue into Telegram's role in facilitating illegal activities, including the spread of harmful content. In light of these events, Pavel said the app would hand over users' IPs and phone addresses and phone numbers to authorities who would make legal requests. He essentially also promised that the app would get rid of some features that have been abused for illegal activities. Telegram is the founder of Telegram is genuinely singing like a bird right now because he's realized he's messed up. Having such an open application has its positives and negatives. If you have an extremely open application, then yes, it will become a hotspot, like a coffee shop for criminals. It will just essentially become that later on. The issue is because, but here's the thing also. Regarding Telegram right now being investigated by the UN, it's going to heavily impact the TON ecosystem. Because first it was just the French authorities, and it impacted the Telegram, essentially the TON token. When France arrested the founder of Telegram, what happened to TON? It got impacted quite bad. Now we have the UN essentially investigating the Telegram with the help of South Korean authorities and Indian authorities, and a few other countries have lined up to go against Telegram as well. So not good for Telegram, not good for your freedom of speech, not good for the TON ecosystem, not good for the TON token itself. All of these things happening on Telegram right now. And I don't blame the program. I don't blame Telegram in any sort of a way. I blame the criminals and I blame the morons who fall for scams. Now, everybody, some people fall for scams. all I can say is a very simple way. God has given no matter what religion you're, you could be, Christian, Catholic, Muslim, Jewish, whatever religion you're. At the end, you all believe in the same God. Full stop. God has given everybody wisdom and common sense. In general, he's given everybody common sense and logic. Once in a while, people should start using common sense, because it's not the platform's fault if people fall victim to scams. It's not Telegram's fault. Telegram's trying to provide freedom of speech. Full stop. Telegram is trying to provide freedom of speech. And if essentially people are getting scammed on Telegram, it's not the platform's fault. It's the person's fault for getting scammed. Because God has given everybody common sense and logic. And once in a while, people should use it. Because of those people not using common sense and logic that God has provided everyone with, the founder of Telegram right now is in prison or on bail. And Telegram is going to be taken down, which means another platform that offers freedom of speech will be taken down. Genuinely, if people used common sense more often, criminals wouldn't go into the role of scamming people. Not even lying about this one. If people used common sense, then less people would get scammed, which means the criminal activity of scamming will completely die out because people started using common sense. So please, for the love of God, not everyone watching right now, but if anybody is out there, use common sense. Because of you not using common sense, or a lot of people not using common sense, platforms like Telegram are going to basically get taken down, which means another platform that offers freedom of speech goes, sideways. Honestly, if more people use common sense, then there wouldn't be that many scammers around the world. It's just easy as that. Now, but also this is a political move as well on Telegram. It's a big political move on Telegram. Because Facebook offers so many criminals activity as well, but nobody ever looks into Facebook. They're going to go deep looking into Telegram now. Yes, very deep looking into Telegram. This is not good for Ton, definitely not good for Ton. To be honest, the US market space is a disaster too, but they're hiding it pretty good. I agree with JP as well. Housing market regarding the US, definitely. This is not good for Ton, definitely not good for Ton Shelley. They are going to go deep diving into Telegram now. Yep, JP, facts. Time to dump Ton. I would say, let's see what the results of this investigation is going to be. I will definitely keep people updated on Telegram, because if you're holding Ton token and Ton's ecosystem, which by the way, Ton's ecosystem is an amazing ecosystem. Hence why it climbed the ladder so quick, but also a lot of money was flowing into it. I'm not going to talk about that part, but are you holding onto Ton or not? Yes. I think they want Ton more than they want Telegram. I agree. This is why I'm saying wait for the time being. Wait and let's see what the UN is going to come out with regarding the investigation. Is it going to be heavily impacting Ton or not? So for the time being, I'm not selling Ton, but it's information for you out there that the UN has opened up a massive investigation on Telegram. And the longer this investigation takes, the more they look into Telegram, the more Ton's ecosystem will be impacted. Just a heads up. Now, US government is what we're going to talk about next. Here is some major news if you're inside the crypto space. Even bigger than the Ton ecosystem news. Even bigger than right now, let's just say, the appeal situation on Ripple. The US government has actually got a green light to sell their Bitcoins. A judge inside the United States has given a green light to the US government that they can now, if they wanted to, sell their Bitcoins. Because everybody for a while was speculating, US might sell Bitcoins, US might sell Bitcoins, Germany sold Bitcoins, US might be next. Well, a judge has just given a green light to the US government. If they wanted to, they can sell their Bitcoins now. So, There have been several bullish Bitcoin news in the past few days. However, a recent Supreme Court ruling could dampen the mood, as the US government has gotten a clear to proceed with selling 69,370 Bitcoins that was essentially associated with the Silk Road marketplace. The Silk Road confiscated Bitcoins have just got a green light to be sold by the US government. This is significant as the sale of such magnitude could put a massive selling pressure on the flagship crypto if the US government decides to sell. But they have a green light to sell now. The US government could soon sell over 69,000 Bitcoins plus, following the Supreme Court's denial of the Catutory petition, essentially, in the battle-born investments case against the United States. This Bitcoin news could negatively impact the Bitcoin price. You don't say. 69,000 Bitcoins? Such a sale will put a significant selling pressure on the flagship crypto. This case involved the ownership of 69,370 Bitcoins, worth $4.4 billion worth of Bitcoin, linked to Silk Road Marketplace. The government had initially seized these coins from an individual X as a part of its, essentially, from the dark web marketplace Silk Road. But now the US government has an official green light to it in 2022. Supports the claim why the sale of these coins had to be put on hold. The reason why the United States government couldn't sell their Bitcoins, but everybody always speculated Germany sold Bitcoins, the US government is next, Germany sold Bitcoins and so on. Well, the reason why the US couldn't sell their Bitcoins is because they were going for a long battle case. And that battle case has come to an end with a verdict that the Supreme Court just said today, that the United States government can sell their Bitcoins if they wanted to now. All of it. So the firm who essentially purchased the bankruptcy claims following Silk Road's collapse argued that they owned the Bitcoins that the individual X stole from the dark web marketplace. This essentially case that was going on, one side was the US government, the other side was another company claiming that was their Bitcoins that Silk Road stole from them. But at the end, the judge said, no, the US gets to sell it. However, the Supreme Court has chosen not to hear Battleborn's appeal, despite their claims to be innocent owners of the Silk Road's property, including 69,370 Bitcoins stolen by individual X. That's the only reason the United States government so far didn't sell their Bitcoins, because they couldn't. They were going on a year-on-year battle inside of the court scenes with a group claiming that was their Bitcoins from Silk Road, from the dark web. And then the US government on one side saying, no, it isn't. The judge just ruled it belongs to the US, which means also now the US can sell those Bitcoins. Meanwhile, instead of selling those Bitcoins, Democratic representative, essentially Roll Cannon, said the US government should keep the seized Bitcoins. So one representative has stood out. The US government has not given a, are we going to sell or are we not going to sell so far, but they can sell now if they wanted to. And one representative, Democratic representative, has decided to come out because of this news being announced today and said that the US government should keep the seized Bitcoins as a reserve asset instead and not to sell them, even though they can. Now, Republican president candidate also Donald Trump has also promised to create a Bitcoin reserve if elected president. Let's just hope by the time this man makes it the presidency, the US government doesn't sell the Bitcoins. Considering how much Bitcoin the US holds from the seizures, Trump could adapt the advice that was handed over by this representative and make, a Bitcoin reserve for the US. Bitcoin Treasury's data shows that the US is the largest Bitcoin holder among the world governments, with 1,239 Bitcoins. Interestingly, the majority of these coins are from Silk Road Marketplace, which is the ones they are green-lighted to sell. A potential Bitcoin news around the US government selling any of these coins will bring back memories of the German government sale of almost 50,000 Bitcoins. The German government only sold 50,000 Bitcoins. And America holds the biggest wallet in terms of governments holding Bitcoins. This move led to Bitcoin's price dropping below 55,000 at that time. When Germany sold their Bitcoins, Bitcoin dropped to 55,000. If the US sells their Bitcoins, it's going to be an interesting one. So there is a heads up for you right there. If you are holding Bitcoin, if you are, holding Bitcoin, if you want to know what to do next inside the market space, well, there's some big major news right there. The United States government has officially got their green lights from a Supreme Court that they can sell their Bitcoins now. By law, they can get rid of it if they wanted to. So just a heads up, if you are holding Bitcoin, if you're thinking about doing your next movements inside the crypto space, the US government has the green light to sell their Bitcoins now. And if you're wondering why they couldn't sell it before, because they were doing a court battle. It's the only reason the US government didn't sell before, because they were doing a court battle. But now they can, because the court battle finished and the verdict came out. Do you think they will sell, Miles? If they wanted to manipulate the market space, then yes. On a crazy scale, if they wanted to manipulate the market space, then yes. Look, governments in general, it's about manipulation, manipulation, corruption. That's just what a government is. Manipulating your everyday life, corrupting your everyday life. That's just what every government does. So if they wanted to do that, then yes. Look, what the issue is, if the US government decides to sell their Bitcoins, it could impact BlackRock's holdings. It will impact essentially it will impact JP Morgan. It will impact Goldman Sachs. It will impact Franklin Templeton. And I don't think they want to do that. On the other side, they could, if they could sell, which will cause more people to sell, which will cause more panic, which means BlackRock, Vanguard, JP Morgan, Franklin Templeton, and everybody else can buy cheaper Bitcoins. Because if the US dumps on the market space, everybody goes in the red mode, red alarms start going off and everybody starts panicking. More people start panic selling. Bitcoin goes further down, which means the institutions can pick it up even cheaper. So if they wanted to, they can manipulate the price. So look, here's a few outcomes. Outcome number one, they don't sell and they keep Bitcoin as a reserve asset. Outcome number two, they sell to manipulate the market space, to create more pressure on the market space so the institutions can buy back even cheaper. Well, there's only two outcomes, I'll be honest. There's only two outcomes. One, they keep it for reserves, which is a smarter option. Two, they sell to put pressure on the market space so institutions can buy even cheaper. There's only two outcomes. And the reason why I won't say, outcome number one has a 90% chance and outcome number two has 20% chance and so on, is because, again, you're dealing with highly manipulative, corrupted mind sites. So it's very difficult to guess what a corruptive mind site is thinking of. So weighing out a few outcomes would be the better guess. Essentially weighing out a few outcomes. You could weigh out 1,000 outcomes of which way it could go. But two preferably outcomes is one, they keep it as reserves assets. So Congress, for example, gets involved and doesn't let them sell their Bitcoins. If Congress has a vote, then they won't sell their Bitcoins. On the other hand, if the US wants to manipulate the market space so that, BlackRock and JP Morgan, everybody else can pick up cheaper Bitcoins, then why not? Interesting enough, these past few days, JP Morgan has become very fond of Bitcoin. The same bank that went essentially on live news, JP Morgan went on live news not that long ago and saying, if I was in charge of the United States, I would ban Bitcoin. I will do this and that. That same man that was against Bitcoin in the past few days, his bank has done many reports on Bitcoin, claiming that it's a reserve asset. It's an asset to look forward to in geopolitical tensions. It's an asset to, go alongside gold. That's the same JP Morgan that was saying, I would ban Bitcoin. in the past few days, JP Morgan has been very fond of Bitcoin, and even went as far as to say that Ethereum, which is their own Onyx coin, is that it's built on essentially JP Morgan's Onyx coin, only for institutions built on Ethereum. JP Morgan, in the same report that JP Morgan wrote, they wrote that Ethereum doesn't have a impulse of growth. Ethereum doesn't have an impulse of growth. And they said Bitcoin is the better asset. And they even said they're teaching their investors about Bitcoin education. The same bank that developed on creating their own Onyx coin for banks only. So odd. JP Morgan very being fond on the past few days about Bitcoin, Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that, Ethereum this, Ethereum that. And now today we get a green light from the United States government where they can sell their Bitcoins. No questions asked. The only people that could probably stop them is Congress. If Congress has a vote, then maybe they can buy time for themselves for the US not to sell their Bitcoins. Also, the US can sell their Bitcoins just out of spite. So Donald Trump can't make it a reserve asset. There's that perspective as well. Now, let's go inside the comment section and everybody give me your perspectives. I'm giving you two outcomes. One, they keep it as a reserve asset by Congress buying time. Two, they sell and institutions buy back cheaper. That's the two outcomes I'm going to lay down. Everybody else, get involved inside the comment section right now and give me your perspectives. And by the way, I'm reading everybody's comments one by one, so I'm going to get to your comment eventually. But everybody get involved right now inside the comment section. What's your perspectives on this matter? What do you think is going to be happening? Is it going to be the two outcomes I've weighed in, or is it going to be a third outcome that you're thinking of right now? Let's see where we were inside the comment section. We were here. They don't like freedom. Okay, I think they want Ton more than they want Telegram. Yep. They don't like freedom of speech, like Elizabeth says. Bitcoin is for criminals. They're using it as some excuse. I agree. If everybody uses common sense, everybody would have XRP, lol. I agree. It's time for altcoins now. Sell our BTC and buy more X's. I agree. Please share the live if you're enjoying it. Thanks, family. Let's go, Scott. I agree. Grand Rising, Miles and family. Ray, good to see you as well. Let's go. How you doing? Funky brother. Hello, how you doing? Hello from Egypt. How you doing, Mohammed from Egypt? What do you think about Pi Network Coin? What I would say about Pi Network Coin is it's free. It's an application that you download on your phone and you open it up and you press, mine token, and then you exit the app. If it, launches itself, then that's great. If it doesn't, you don't lose much, but it seems like Pi Network is going to launch by the looks of it. So, what I would say is there's nothing negative about Pi. It's a free token that you press one button to mine it. So there's no negatives about it. To be fairly honest, they're not squeezing money out of anyone. So good, in other words, it's positive regarding Pi. Good evening, Miles. And also, just to put in perspective, Harvard University did a study report on Pi Network, believe it or not. And they said, it was positive. They like the ecosystem they're building, the community they're building, and so on. So even Harvard University thinks Pi Network is a good project to look into, and it's free. They're not squeezing money out of anyone. But apparently they're going to launch soon as well. So that's one thing you should know as well. Now, good evening, Miles of CMF. Have you changed the live time to no, I haven't. No, we just launched a little bit early. But we're going to see. Hello to my CMF on YouTube. I hope that you had a good day and night. Let's go, Scott. How you doing? Help me share the live if you're enjoying it. Let's go, Scott. Waiting for answers for my question about Bonk Coin 2. Oh, you want to know opinions about Bonk Coin? Speculative asset. Bonk Coin is a highly speculative asset, high risk, high reward type of scenario. High risk, high reward is another way of saying it could either go sky high or drop completely into the ground. So speculative asset, no potential utility use cases any sort of a way. Bonk Coin is only interesting as long as the community finds it interesting to do well for itself, or if anyone wants to launder money into it. Other than that, not so much of an asset that you should be looking into. But it's a speculative asset, high risk, high reward. It means either goes sky high or drops right into the ground. We know why they got the green light in case Mr. T wins. Just thought. Yeah, I had the same thought as well in case they want to sell it because of Trump. Trump can't make it a reserve asset if they sell it. Do you think they'll sell Miles? It's a two perspective matter, two outcomes I would have to say. Miles, some things are about to happen with XRP. You agree? I agree. So if it's legitimate, it's massive selling. Yeah. I'm going to sell BTC and buy more of the exits. Funky brother, is that what you're going to do? I think the SEC is on self-implode mode. Why appeal a case you truly lost on 99% of the merits? I agree. Mohammed, Pi Network coin, please. What do you think of it? That's what I think of it regarding Pi Network. I already said it. What we did not do a live last evening, correct? Yes, that's correct. That's correct. A new member from Egypt, please look into my question earlier. I already did, Mohammed. Pi Network, there's no negatives about it. It's a free token. They're not getting money from it. They haven't squeezed money out of everyone. It's a free project. You press a button to mine, exit the app. There's no negatives about it so far, I would have to say. They can sell it to BlackRock without dumping the markets. But good to see, Mohammed. How you doing? Welcome to the CMF. And welcome to everyone new that's watching right now. Welcome to the CMF. They can sell it to BlackRock without dumping the markets, but if they dump the markets, many of the retailers get their hands on cheap BTCs, and that's what BlackRock doesn't want. It's a great perspective, Chillzone. So Chillzone has given the perspective that, they can sell it to BlackRock without dumping it, which they can if they wanted to. But if they dump the markets, many of the retailers get their hands on cheap BTCs, and that's not what BlackRock wants. I agree. But you've got to, that's based on the perspective that many people have, that's based, the easiest way I can say is that's based on the perspective that many people understand that it's still a great asset to jump into if they wanted to. Many people might just panic and leave the market space forever. So you're basically off everybody is intelligent enough to realize that. Good evening. You might realize it, but a lot of people around you might not. Good evening, Miles and family. Sorry I'm late. What did I miss so far? A lot. Carlos, good to see you as well. How you doing? You've missed out on a lot. We went through some major news. A few major news so far. You gotta watch the live show again. At the end, I'll do a recap, small little recap of what we talked about. Keep it in mind, but good to see you, Carlos. Keep it in mind that the forbidden is desirable. When Bitcoin is available and legal, it will become cheap. Depends. I mean, low token supply, institutions already have it. If there is a major sell-off, many miners won't survive. That's also a fact. Many Bitcoin mining institutions will not have the capacity to survive that. I think they will hold Bitcoin until XRP hits. Then they will transfer from Bitcoin to XRP. That's the perspective coming out of Stormy. Interesting perspective. They sell and squander it, and then nobody knows where the money went. That's also a perspective as well. Thanks for replying. No problem, Mohammed. Anytime. I think they will wait till after elections to see who wins before they sell. So if Trump wins, they'll just drop their Bitcoins instantly. Because Trump wants to keep it as a reserve asset, just out of spite. Trump wins the presidential elections, and out of spite, the U.S. government sells their Bitcoins. It'll be the last act Sleepy Joe and Kamala Harris do. Because now they have a green light to sell their Bitcoins. If selling involves hurting Trump and America, then dump for sure. Interesting perspective coming out of Ray. I think they will wait the elections before they sell. Shelly says, I don't know. Fair enough, to be honest. Fair enough. Bull XRP says, I think it has to have another shakeout of the markets. I agree. Another shakeout needs to happen inside the market space. Mohammed says, it is probably true that money moves from one person to another, and this is what makes the world full of hope. And hope means conception, and conception means continued manufacturing, which is also true as well. All facts. But it's a big one. It's a very big one. The US government now has officially a green light to sell their Bitcoins. A Supreme Court order. If they wanted to, they can sell. No questions asked now. Just something to keep in the back of your minds is if you're inside the crypto space, the US government can sell their Bitcoins now. No questions asked. Completely green lighted by a judge today. Now, moving off the major Bitcoin news of the US government to another slightly major news as well. One man that needs to be replaced inside the US government of a US department is Gary Gensler. And it seems to be that Donald Trump, he did say that he will replace Gary Gensler within 48 hours. Donald Trump has already chosen who is going to be replacing Gary Gensler as the chairman of the SEC. Now, I'm going to be reading you who is being chosen and what has he achieved so far. You tell me at the end if you would want this man as the chairman of the SEC. Now, here's one candidate that's been chosen so far. There's going to be a few candidates. Donald Trump seems to be ready to pick Dan Gallagher, Robinhood's chief legal officer. Robinhood's chief legal officer is what Donald Trump is keeping in mind for the chairman of the SEC. So Robinhood's chief legal officer is somebody that understands the law, but it's also somebody that's innovative for cryptocurrencies. As his choice to replace Gary Gensler as the head of the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, if he makes it a return to the Oval Office and becomes the President of the United States, Dan Gallagher will replace Gary Gensler. Dan Gallagher, who has a history at the SEC as a former commissioner, is already a leading contender, according to insiders like former regulators and lobbyists, is what they're saying right now. The former regulators and lobbyists are saying that Dan is who's going to replace Gary Gensler. He's got a background that fits right into Trump's agenda, and people are familiar with his work and already speculate that he is a natural choice to lead the United States in crypto innovation and bring clarity. Interestingly, it comes at a time when Gary Gensler is eyeing a lawsuit against Robinhood, believe it or not. They're looking at the firm's crypto business, questioning whether Robinhood is acting as an unregistered broker-dealer and clearing agencies in the crypto market space. So, as Dan is being the one chosen to replace Gary Gensler is also looking into Robinhood at the same time. If the SEC does go ahead with the charges, Dan Gallagher might find himself at the center of a very awkward legal fight. It definitely will be awkward because the man that's supposed to replace Gary Gensler is being looked into by Gary Gensler and potentially going on a long legal battle. Because one of them is trying to bring crypto innovation through Robinhood, while the other is obviously trying to stop innovation, Gary Gensler. While some platforms are knee-deep in crypto listings, hundreds of tokens, Robinhood's approach has been more conservative. Dan Gallagher points out that Robinhood doesn't even offer a crypto lending or staking products, something that other firms completely do. According to Dan, the company has deliberately avoided going hog wild with crypto listings, which he believes should essentially set them apart from the SEC's usual crypto cases. Dan said, "We've been forging revenue for the company by not going hog wild on listing coins, and I think that puts us in a very, very unique position. Shooting at the good guys is really a bad policy coming from the SEC." The SEC did not respond to any sort of request for comments on what Dan said. Gary Gensler did not want to comment at all. The situation isn't anything new. 8 years ago, Trump administration saw a wave of financial, corporative, and legal figures trying to join his team. A lot of people might tell you that people don't like Trump and people don't want to, work alongside Trump. But when Trump was chosen as the president of the United States before, many people wanted to work from financial organizations, corporate organizations, and legal firms because he's a businessman and he brings innovation. The same revolving door between the government and private industries is expected to start spinning again if Trump wins the next election. Dan Gallagher's candidacy is a prime example of this. Richard Painter, the former ethics lawyer under President George W. Bush, summed it up like this: "This is the name of the game. Get the fox in the henhouse." But Dan Gallagher, not only the name being tossed around the role, other possible candidates are former Commodities Futures Trading Commission Chairman Chris. The former CFTC chairman is also a candidate in this scenario as well, also known as Crypto Dad. A former SEC General Counsel, Robert, is also on the verge of replacing Gary Gensler. So it looks like Gary Gensler is definitely going to be replaced. There's 3 candidates waiting to essentially take his chair once Gary Gensler is out the door. The current SEC Commissioner, Hester Pierce, is also in the mix as well. Hester Peirce Hester Peirce, a few days ago, in front of Congress, Hester Peirce, still working as a SEC commissioner, said that Gary Gensler is not doing his job properly, and this is not the SEC's agenda, this is the commissioner's agenda going after crypto platforms. So Hester Peirce, in my opinion, would also make a great candidate for an SEC chairman, for going up against Gary Gensler while still working for Gary Gensler in front of Congress. Dan would be great, said the rep, essentially Bill from Michigan, a Republican candidate. Bill has worked with Dan Gallagher on various financial service hearings and believes he's the right person for the job, even though they've essentially disagreed on certain issues in the past. He added that you want someone who's thoughtful, experienced, and not just ideologically, politically driven. That's been, I think, the problem with Gary Gensler. I agree as well. Gary Gensler is very politically driven. While at the SEC, Dan Gallagher pushed back against some of the rules put in place after the 2008 financial crisis. He called for a through-and-through review of the US stock market tradings and raised concerns early about the SEC's internal courts. So Dan has been against the SEC for a while, since 2008. If Trump does not pick Dan Gallagher, he'll be walking into a storm. Robinhood has been under fire from lawmakers for years. The GameStop saga of 2021, where Robinhood had to, this is where it gets a little bit interesting, because even though the whole thing was interesting, but because the GameStop situation, everybody remember GameStop, where everybody started jumping into the GameStop saga, into the stock of GameStop because of one man, that Kitty Rowe person, and Robinhood was freezing people's essentially transactions, so people couldn't buy GameStop. So the GameStop saga of 2021, where Robinhood had to stop investors from buying more stocks in the video game retailer, is still fresh in people's minds. So some people are coming out and saying that, is Dan really the best choice to replace Gary Gensler? Not saying Gary Gensler shouldn't be replaced, they're saying, is Dan the best choice? Because Dan is a part of a company that was stopping people from buying certain stocks so they can please Wall Street. Wall Street was very angry at anybody that brought Wall Street, essentially that anybody that brought GameStop stocks. And Wall Street essentially made a contact to Robinhood to freeze people from buying certain assets. So do you really want somebody in charge of the SEC who bends over for Wall Street in a very simple way? Congress wasn't happy about that, and neither were the millions of retail investors who felt shut out of the market with the GameStop situation through Robinhood. Vlad did their best to fix things, but it was a little too late, and Democrats don't care much about Dan Gallagher, though. Meanwhile, he publicly claimed that Robinhood has made big changes since the GameStop incident. He says the company has overhauled its compliance and risk management systems. He's also dismissive of the idea that his transition from the private sector back to the government would be a problem, saying that having experience in both areas is an asset, not a conflict of interest. So Dan's saying, I'm the best choice for this scenario. It's still unclear whether Dan even wants to leave Robinhood. He said that he loves his job and he considers it an honor to even be mentioned in the conversation for the SEC chairman. But there is no doubt that Dan Gallagher has a strong opinion about the SEC's current direction. I'll be honest, everybody has a strong opinion on Gary Gensler because the guy is useless, particularly when it comes to crypto. Also, everybody has, particularly when it comes to crypto, an opinion on Gary Gensler. Dan Gallagher has said that if he had been the SEC chairman over the last few years, there would have already been rules in place to guide the industry. He believes it needs a clear path for registration and regulation, something that hasn't happened under Gary Gensler's leadership. He said, I would have done things differently, he said. So, what's your opinions, everyone? Do you think Dan Gilligan is the best choice? Do you think a former Robinhood, or no, actually not former, a current Robinhood legal officer is the best choice for the SEC chairman? Or do you think somebody else is a better choice for the SEC chairman? Are you okay with somebody that's in charge of the SEC who previously bent over for Wall Street. So Wall Street says happy, where people can't buy certain assets. What's your opinions, everyone? Who do you think personally should replace Gary Gensler? In your mindset, who do you think is the best person to replace Gary Gensler? According to Mark Cuban, it's him. But Mark Cuban is also a bit of a tool. But according to Mark Cuban, it should be him. According to Dan, he's honored to be him. It could be Hester Pierce. Who do you think is the best person to replace Gary Gensler, the chairman of the SEC? Because it's a big talking point. Because whoever's chosen as the next chairman, we are stuck with that person for another 4 years. And that person for another 4 years is going to dictate how everything goes down when it comes to your crypto assets. So for another 4 years, this person is going to be sitting in that chair dictating how to bring crypto innovation, regulations and policies, taxing, so on. So this person is going to have a very big impact on the crypto space. So it's very vital whoever this person is going to be chosen to replace Gary Gensler is the best, not even the best, the perfect choice for an SEC chairman. So who do you think should be? Let's see what everyone comes up with. Throw some names out there. You think that should replace Gary Gensler? While I go through the comment section, I think it has to have another shake off in the market. I agree. It's probably that money moves. I read that one as well. Ethereum name service, any good? Ethereum name service is all right. The more we go into Web3, the more Ethereum name services will have a benefit. So long term, it's going to do good regarding Ethereum name services. It's going to do good in long term. I hope I'll be able to watch a replay of this show. I'm still learning. Carlos, let's go. Definitely. Of course you will. Why not? Dan Gallagher has been chosen from Moonbit. Robinhood, yep, he has. What I mean is that the fall of currencies like Bitcoin means the rise of other currencies in its place. And this represents the role of life. It is assumed that this is the hope for which modern man lives in life. I agree. I read the first time and I understood as well. I said, I agree with Mohammed. I agree with your first comment. And I understood the first one. And I agree with your second one. You just explained it differently. But I agree with you. There's no disagreements here. I think Gary Gensler should just pick I think Gary Gensler should just pick up whatever marbles he has left and leave the playground. I agree with Happy Pisces as well. To be honest, what he has done with Robinhood from the beginning to now, he's done a pretty damn good job. So it's not a bad pick in my eyes, is what JP says. Okay, so JP thinks that Dan is not a bad choice. Yodon says, Miles, I think the next year crypto will be the most popular thing. People are tired of governments and their fake money. I think the fake money that you're talking about is going to be funded through to fund the crypto money. So the imaginary dollars that's going around the world right now, the dollars that nobody respects, the dollars that everybody says the US is printing too much of, the same dollars that nobody believes is still valued at $1, is the same dollars that's going to be funding the crypto market space. So the imaginary dollars is going to go in some people's eyes, the imaginary crypto place. But it's the same dollars. That same fake money you're talking about is going to be the same fake money that's going to be funding the crypto space, the US money, the US dollars. But yeah, no, in general. I mean, this year was the year of paperwork. 2024 was the year of banks coming into the crypto space, institutions coming into the crypto space, regulations coming into the crypto space, CBDC testings and so on. This was the year, and I said this in 2023. I said 2024 is going to be the start of the world shifting into a digital era, which it was. 2024 was the start of the entire world completely starting to transform to the digital era, with banks, institutions, and regulations all around the world happening. But I agree, yeah. Do you think that the US, I agree with you, do you think the US government allowing, so this is what Mohammed says, do you think that the US government allowing the buying and selling of Bitcoin is just a coincidence? I don't think they have actually found a way to track the buying and selling and financial movements. This means that many Bitcoin whales will start selling Bitcoins, and illegal business owners will try to find new ways to hide their money as an alternative to Bitcoin. It's actually more difficult than you think to hide your assets on crypto. Okay, here's a misconception that a lot of people believe in. Regarding crypto assets, it's not that difficult to find you. It's a public ledger. Even Bitcoin doesn't make you 100% anonymous. Okay, what you need to understand is actually a study report that came out from the NSA Homeland Security and the NSA did a study report, okay? And Homeland Security, essentially a very high-profile person from Homeland Security, came out and said this. He said, if you want to be completely hidden from the world, crypto is not your answer. Cash is. Cash is the only legal tender that you can use to be completely anonymous with, which is facts. The issue with people thinking, this misconception that people have, if I'm on crypto, nobody can track me. Incorrect. So Homeland Security also even pointed out, and I pointed out a long time ago as well, but they also pointed out that, look, it doesn't matter if you transfer your crypto assets to 1,000 different wallets. So if you do Bitcoin transactions back to back to 1,000 different wallets, you take one Bitcoin and you transfer it from one wallet to another wallet, to another wallet, or another wallet. You can go for 1,000 wallets if you wanted to. For an example, you go for 1,000 wallets, and at the end, what do you want to do? You want to spend it. Wherever you spend it at is where they're going to catch you. Living in a digital world with cameras everywhere. So, for example, if you do 1,000 different wallets, they'll track you wallet to wallet to wallet to wallet. It's a public blockchain. They'll just track you wallet to wallet to wallet to wallet to wallet to wallet. You go for 1,000 wallets, they'll still track you. The end wallet will be the one that you spend that Bitcoin on. You know, put a deposit down for a house, buy a car, whatever. They'll know it's you from the cameras because they'll track you wallet to wallet to wallet and where you spent it. So even Homeland Security pointed this out. Homeland Security did a report. They said, if you want to live anonymous in this world, cash will make you impossible to track. But cryptocurrencies, that people have this misconception that if you're on cryptocurrencies, we can't track you. And they can. Homeland Security said, we'll track you from wallet to wallet. There's no issues. So digital currency is not difficult for them to track you. It's the perspective coming from Homeland Security. They said they can track you fully, 100%. So anybody that thinks that, if you're on, crypto, you're anonymous and nobody can find me, wrong. They can. They'll track you 1,000 wallets, transactions to finally catch you. Because wherever you spend that money at the end wallet, they'll know it's you. Because you spent it, wherever you spent it at, they'll know it's you. So if you want to be completely impossible to find, cash. But now, just also point out, they also did say that if you want to be a little bit more hidden in the digital world, then privacy tokens. They said privacy tokens is difficult for us to track. So they're very honest. They said privacy tokens, in terms of Monero, for example, is one example. Monero for them is very difficult to track. They can still track it, but it makes their job difficult. And that is the reason why privacy tokens like Monero, like Dash, like any of the privacy tokens and those categories are banned from exchanges in the EU. Regarding the MiCA regulations that are coming out of the EU, they're banning privacy tokens for a reason. Because it's difficult for them to track it when you're doing illicit activities on it. But the reason why they won't ban any of the cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, or XRP, or XLM, or XDC, or HBAR, or Solana, or Ethereum, or anything else is because they can track you. They can track you from wherever. They can track you from point A to point Z. But the reason why they won't let you buy Monero on exchanges, why they won't let you buy Dash on exchanges, why they won't let you buy certain crypto assets on exchanges is because it's difficult for them to track you. But if they're letting you buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, AVAX, whatever, the reason why they're letting you buy these tokens in the EU under MiCA regulations is because they can track you on those tokens. So you're not anonymous. They can track you from wallet A to wallet Z from where you go to spend it. But they won't buy you Monero, which is banned. They won't buy you Dash, which is banned. They won't buy you some other certain tokens that are in a similar category. So even for a second, don't think to yourself you're anonymous living in this digital world. Unless you have some privacy tokens going for yourself. But if you're on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, AVAX, whatever, Chainlink, TON, they'll track you from wallet A to wallet Z. But that is why they won't let you buy Monero. That's why the EU banned privacy coins a very long time ago. Canada's banning privacy coins. America's going to be banning privacy coins. The UK is going to be banning privacy coins. Japan's going to ban privacy coins. Every country is going to start banning privacy coins. The EU was the first one, alongside Canada. Because they can't track you on those ones. It makes it difficult. But they'll let you buy everything else because they can track you from wallet A to wallet Z. So just something for you to know about Homeland Security. So So Mohammed, that's something you know about as well, and everyone else know about as well. I think Gary Gensler should just pick up whatever Mobley has left. I agree. To be honest, what he has done for Robin Hood in the beginning has done a pretty good job. So it's a bad pick in my eyes. It's not a bad pick in my eyes, is what JP says. Fair enough. Miles, I think the next year I already read that one as well, read that one as well, and now we're here. Okay. Can it be a conflict of interest if he is chosen? Up to a certain extent, yes, it can be a conflict of interest, yes. Scott Ferguson for SEC chairman, CMF, let's go. I agree, 1%. Let's go, Scott. 100%. I'd rather have you than Dan Gilligan. Any day, I'd rather have Scott as the chairman of the CF of the SEC. Facts, let's go. Ripple should hire Gensler and give him an office with no windows and no real task except make coffee for everybody and go pick up lunch. Is what G says. JP says, but if he doesn't do his job properly, Trump will get rid of him straight away. Yeah, knowing Trump, yeah, he said he'll fire anyone. He sounds too easily manipulated. Literally anyone else is what Ray said. I think the weasel Gary should be locked up for years until the bull run is over. I agree. Chozone says, do you know how much it costs to make 1 cent? Bull XRP says, also, when he was in second term, he was Obama's administration, so it doesn't have a free speech. I agree. Chozo said, do you know, Chozo, you're pretty same question. Do you know 1 cent? And believe me, if you want to, they can freeze the wallet right away. They can, yes. I think they should hire Andrew Tate as the new chairman of the SEC. That should be an interesting one. Mohammed says that info new to me. Thank you. Mohammed, no problem. Anytime. Or CZ from Binance. CZ will be a great chairman of the SEC. He will bring so much innovation. And I think the roles should reverse. CZ should just put SEC chairman in prison. I think they should exchange Gary Gensler for the director of Binance in Nigeria, who is stuck. I agree with that as well. Pi Network is using Web3, as they said. Yes. It's what they're claiming, yes. Let's share the live, family. Let's go. I have to be better than the weasel. Definitely. Facts. 100%, Scott. That's why I said, Scott, if it's you, I'd rather choose Scott to be the chairman of the SEC than Dan. Even Dan or anybody else. Scott will be the best choice. Please share the live if you're enjoying it. Let's go. How will the dollar have use when CBDCs come? How will the dollar have use? Well, the dollar is going to be the one that's backing the US dollars. I mean, the US CBDC. So US dollars will be backing fiat currency. So the US dollars fiat currency will be backing the CBDC dollars. The British pounds fiat currency will be backing the British CBDC, and eventually being, fading out. Euros will be backing the Euro CBDCs. The fiat currencies will be backing their digital currencies, and eventually get faded out. That's how. Now, what we're going to talk about next is an interesting one. A lot of interesting topics we went through tonight. A lot of major news we went through as well on tonight's live show. Now, we've all heard about Bitcoin ETFs. It's a very common thing now. America has Bitcoin ETFs. Hong Kong has Bitcoin ETFs. Brazil has Bitcoin ETFs. Wherever you look, Bitcoin ETFs are popping out. But what about a Bitcoin IPO? Fold awaits SEC approval for a landmark Bitcoin IPO. Fold, a Bitcoin financial services company, has filed an S-4 with the SEC as it prepares to go public, as it currently holds over 1,000 Bitcoins in its corporate treasury. The company operates a cashback debit card and allows users to purchase or sell Bitcoins directly via their accounts, making it a minor rival to Block's SQ Cash App, enabling Bitcoin purchases and sales in addition to cashback rewards in cryptocurrencies. The company finally filed for an IPO and now awaits the SEC's answer. However, its decision to go public was announced in July this year. and it benefits the rapid growth of transformation and characterizing the fintech industry at the moment. As underlined by the chief executive, the IPO will alleviate essentially much needed capital for expanding services and improving technological infrastructure. The plans are to use the money raised through the listings to boost our user experience, develop new products, and expand market reach. Fold's Bitcoin strategy is also a part of a broader trend for fintech companies to integrate digital currencies into their businesses. It makes the companies look forward-thinking and ready for the future of finance. So far, this has yielded significant returns. Any increases in Bitcoin's values bolster the firm's balance sheet. The rewards models lies essentially at the heart of the company's business model, allowing users to earn Bitcoin through its purchases. This has driven users' growth and engagements as people look for ways of essentially acquiring more Bitcoins without directly investing into the markets. The IPO should be among the most important events in fintechs and crypto. The firm says its innovative approach and strong market position attract huge investors' interest. It will list shares on the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol FOLD. If listed, Fold will join the elite group of well-known public companies with Bitcoin on their balance sheets. Most prominent among them is MicroStrategy, holding a stash of 252,220 Bitcoins as of September, which, if valued at today's price, would be approximately $15 billion, is what essentially MicroStrategy is holding in terms of value of Bitcoin. Recently, the company's CEO, Michael Saylor, updated his followers about the company's plans to offer a private offering of $700 million in convertible senior notes. However, it's not just MSTR and it's grappling with Bitcoin. As of September, Block is also holding 8,211 Bitcoins, representing more than $630 million. Optimized over spot Bitcoin ETFs this year as Bitcoin's halvings and the next year's US presidential election will propel Bitcoin price higher in 2024. Still, crypto investors remain confident that the election results between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris will not impede Bitcoin's journey towards the $100,000 mark. This optimism has simultaneously increased the stock prices of those companies holding Bitcoin. For instance, Bitcoin is up 49% year to date. In comparison, shares of MicroStrategy, who is holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet, is up 165% in the same year. In a recent interview, Will Reeves, the founder and CEO, essentially emphasized the importance of timing, stating that the company has effectively nailed the timing of its product by allowing users to passively stack sats through a product that offers Bitcoin rewards for daily spendings instead of traditional cashback. Fold creates a valuable first-touch experience of Bitcoin. After identifying its core user base and redefining its essentially satbacks experience, Fold has expanded its products offerings to include additional Bitcoin services, such as buying and selling Bitcoin within the app and bill payments for sats back. Plans are in place to introduce a credit card, a Bitcoin credit card from an IPO company based out of the United States. Plans are in place to introduce such a credit card services. The approach involves starting as simple, providing value, ensuring optimal timing, and then expanding the services portfolio, which essentially appears to be a successful strategy. For founders inside the crypto space, it's highly recommended to listen to the episodes for valuable insights, especially regarding when to focus on product developments and when to prioritize growth. The perspective shared highlights the bear markets are ideal for building, while the bull markets are the best for attracting a wider audience and capturing as new users or as essentially as much as possible. 100% agree regarding building in the bear markets and essentially going forward in the bull markets. But the world's essentially the first ever Bitcoin IPO is about to be happening inside the United States. It's going to be listed on Nasdaq. It's going to be called, the ticker is going to be FOLD. And it has been proven that, Bitcoin did from, the beginning of this year until now, 49%, while MicroStrategy did 165%. It seems like institutions or Wall Street traders prefer to go for MicroStrategy shares than Bitcoin itself. MicroStrategy buys, hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin, and Wall Street buys MSTR shares instead of Bitcoin itself. MSTR shares do 165% in 1 year. Bitcoin does 49% in 1 year. And all they're doing is being a middleman for Bitcoin, which, if you think about it, ironically, the whole point of Bitcoin is so there is no middleman. But it seems like investors from Wall Street still prefer a middleman, even though Bitcoin is supposed to have no middleman whatsoever. Crypto in general is not supposed to have a middleman. But it seems like Wall Street still prefers to have a middleman, like MSTR, to buy their Bitcoins for them. Now, JP Morgan is what we're going to talk about next, because JP Morgan has announced these will determine the price of cryptocurrencies in the coming months. JP Morgan has done a report, which we're going to go through right now. But before we go through that, let's go to the comment section. But they've done a report of what's going to be heading your way inside the crypto space, a perspective coming out of JP Morgan. Before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. How will I'll read that one. What do you think about Sologenic? What I would say about Sologenic is what I've said in the past. Sologenic is not a bad project. It could have a very prospering, high-profile future for itself. Sologenic could do very well for itself. But here's the issue. If I was given a choice, essentially to buy Sologenic or to buy essentially, there's the other one, essentially XRP Ledger as well. But let's just say, if I was given a choice of to buy Sologenic or XRP, Sologenic is built upon the XRP Ledger. I would just buy XRP. Not saying that Sologenic is a bad project at all. But if I was given a choice to buy XRP or buy Sologenic, and Sologenic is developed on the XRP Ledger, I would buy XRP. Why would I buy Sologenic is what would be my question, essentially. Sologenic could do excellent for itself, but XRP will do better. And Sologenic is built on the XRP Ledger. So in general, if I was given a choice, I would buy XRP, not Sologenic, even though it's built on the XRP Ledger. It's a great project. It's one, if you want to look into. But I can't comprehend why would I go for that when I could go for the backbone, and the backbone being XRP. That's what I can't comprehend, because I prefer to go for the backbone. I always prefer to go for the backbone of anything. The backbone is where you want to put your money in, not what's on scene, but what's behind the scenes. Is where you want to put your money in. So not a bad project. If you want to look into it, why not? Sologenic, nothing wrong with it at all. But I don't see the point of it. I'd rather go for that one. So other countries won't use the dollar for trade. How will the dollar? So other countries won't use the dollar for trade. They will. The dollar will still be used for trade. The number one stablecoin in the world inside the cryptocurrency space is what? The number one currency around the world in a traditional market space is the US dollar in fiat. The number one stable coin inside of a digital world is the US dollars, USDT. So they still will use it for trade, 100%. Even in the digital world, who rules it? The US dollars. Other countries won't use the dollar for trade. They will, on that matter. It's 2:55 a.m. here in Egypt. So good night. See you later, friends. Mohammed, see you later, brother. See you tomorrow, so as usual, if you want. So other countries won't use the dollar to trade when CBDCs come in. No, they can use stable coins. So every country is coming out with two sets of coins, which is something I said a very long time ago. And when I said it, they still haven't, announced it. And when I said that, it was a long time ago. And a little bit time passes, and every country repeats what I said a very long time ago, which is every country will have two sets of projects. Every country will have a CBDC. There'll be two variants: wholesale CBDC for institutions, retail CBDC for peasants. It's very simple. The other one that countries will come out with is stablecoins. Stablecoins will be traded on the market space. So regarding other countries won't use a dollar to CBDCs they can use stablecoins. Every country will have their own stablecoin. Miles, all the cryptos are bleeding again. One step forward, two steps back again. I'm getting tired of seeing everything in the red most of the times. When is the bull run going to start properly? Give it a little bit of time. Not that far off. Will the USDT be available in the US if other countries stop its trading? Yes. Will USDT be available in the US if other countries stop trading it? USDT. It's odd. Will USDT be available in the US if other countries stop trading it? Yes. If a particular country decides not to use USDT, then it'll still be available in the US. Yes. Only if the US comes out and says no to USDT, then it won't be available in the US. But if what you're talking about right now, Scott, is regarding the EU. The EU cancelling out USDT Does not mean that the US can't use USDT either. But what does mean is later on the US will probably follow the footsteps of the EU when cancelling out USDT for not showing transparency. But for the time being, no, you can use it. Even if the EU stops using USDT due to MiCA regulations, you can still use it in the US because the US hasn't declared it for it not to be used. Thanks for the clarity. No problem, Scott. Anytime. Now, JP Morgan. JP Morgan announced that these will determine the price of cryptocurrencies in the coming months. JP Morgan analysts have highlighted several critical factors that you should know about if you're inside the crypto space that could shape the cryptocurrency market space in the coming months. Noting that technical, geopolitical, and structural events are likely to drive the price movements. JP Morgan perspective. So, in a research report published today by JP Morgan, the impact of the seasonal October trend, Fed rate cuts, Bitcoin ETF option approvals, and Ethereum upcoming Petra upgrade will be discussed. One of the main takeaways from the report is the historical trend of the strong October performance. Commonly known as October, the analysts from JP Morgan noted that over 70% of all of October's resulted in positive returns for Bitcoin. It's true. We had a few bad, Octobers inside the crypto space, about 2 Octobers, if I'm not mistaken, inside the crypto space, but the rest were all positive. So while prior performance is not a predictor of future performance, we think this popularization of October could influence behavior and result in a positive month for Bitcoin this October, the analyst wrote from JP Morgan. Despite the Fed's recent rate cuts, analysts noted that the broader cryptocurrency market has yet to experience the expected positive impact, typically a falling interest rate. Environments support risk assets, but this correlation between total crypto market cap and federal interest rates remains weak at 0.46, said the report. We have not yet seen the expected explosion inside the crypto prices since the Fed's interest rate cuts on September 18th, said JP Morgan, from the analyst from JP Morgan, suggesting that the market may be waiting for more stability before market-deceiving movements. The analyst from JP Morgan also acknowledged that the lack of historical data, which make it difficult to predict how cryptocurrencies respond in interest rate cycles. He went on to say, crypto assets are really only emerged in the early to mid 2010s, 2010 in other words, and interest rates have been near zero for most of their existence. It's possible that stable interest rates rather than low interest rates would benefit these markets the most, they wrote. Another potential catalyst identified by the analyst from JP Morgan was the recent approval of option tradings on spot Bitcoin ETFs. They believe that this development could deepen the market liquidity and attract new participants in the crypto space. With options, investors now have more dynamic way to interact with the ETF and increase liquidity for the underlying assets. This could create a positive feedback loop in essentially improving market structure and making digital assets more accessible to institutional investors. In mid-September, the US Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, approved BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust, the report said, for spot ETFs, Bitcoin spot ETFs, to list on NASDAQ and offer options trading. Although the final approval is still up to the Options Essentially Clearing Corporation, OCC, and the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, the report also highlighted Ethereum's upcoming upgrade as well. The update has a significant development for Ethereum, combining the prog and essentially electrical updates, Petra, for implementing over 30 Ethereum improvement proposals aimed at improving network efficiency, validated transactions, and account essentially obstructions. While Petra is expected to be transformable and for Ethereum's functionalities, we view this upgrade as a more structural than immediate price catalyst. Their analysts wrote that they predict that Petra's long-term impact will increase Ethereum's operational efficiency and adoption, but they believe it is unlikely to trigger a short-term increase in the ETH price. JP Morgan analysts also concluded that the cryptocurrency market space is holding a pattern, awaiting a clear macroeconomic or structural catalyst for sustained growth or sudden growth. So according to JP Morgan, the crypto space market in general is now slightly stifled. But from their perspective, from JP Morgan's analyst perspective, the crypto market is right now waiting for some substantial change to happen. And then the crypto markets are going to be going through the roof. A perspective coming from JP Morgan analysts. They went on to say, we continue to see the crypto ecosystems increasingly sensitive to micro factors. So we await the next major catalyst for development and enhanced retail participation to drive the secular growth for the ecosystem, they said. So JP Morgan analysts coming out, doing a report on the crypto markets, things that you should look at for the next few months, and comparing historical events or geopolitical events that are going to be heading our way. Everything they said is purely facts, and actually not even facts, speculative, let's just say. But yes, geopolitical tensions do make the crypto markets extremely sensitive. It's been proven many times over and over again. I mean, the recent one with Iran and Israel made the crypto markets a little bit too sensitive. But that's only because that's just what's supposed to happen, because the crypto markets are not a risk of asset. A risk of asset is like gold, which essentially becomes a safe haven in scenarios like that, instead of crypto markets not becoming safe haven. But JP Morgan is predicting some major events are going to be heading our way to make the crypto markets go suddenly. So let's see what those sudden events are going to be. Perspective from JP Morgan. They said that this Ethereum update headed towards Ethereum is also going to be positive as well, and that it should make Ethereum better, faster, and cheaper along the way, but it wouldn't add so much value to Ethereum in the short term, but long term, yes. Now, moving off, essentially JP Morgan's perspective on the market space, something sudden is supposed to be heading our way from JP Morgan perspective, to Central Bank of Russia is what we're going to talk about next. Now, the reason why we're going to be talking about the Central Bank of Russia is because the Russian CBDC that was supposed to come in 2035 originally, and then 2030, and then 2029, and then 2028, and then 2027, and then 2026 is now coming in 2025. Something that I said a very long time ago. That CBDCs are coming your way a lot more quicker than you think, because time is running out, especially for countries that are sanctioned. And the reason why we're going to talk about the Central Bank of Russia is because 4 years ago exactly, the Central Bank of Russia released some sort of documentation. And on that PDF documentation, it was stated what's been looked into and researched into and implemented into those test studies. Anybody want to take a guess what particular crypto asset was chosen by the Russian authorities to test cross-border payments, and to test payments in general for domestic and international use? Anybody want to take a guess inside the comment section which crypto project was chosen by Russia in their PDF documentations by the Central Bank of Russia for domestic and international payments? Which crypto project was chosen? We have about 24,000 plus crypto assets or more. Which crypto project do you think was chosen on those PDF documentations? Take a guess. Everybody just wants the rules and regulations. Yeah, I agree. Facts. Good night, Miles, and the rest of CMF family. Frank, but I'll see you tomorrow, but at the same time as usual. Okay. Chozo says Russia chooses. Okay, so Genos, let's go for the answers. Gino says XRP, makes sense. Cross-border payments. Bull XRP says XRP, makes sense. Cross-border payments. Chozo said Russia chooses Pepe. It's good for money laundering, but not for cross-border payments by the central bank. Mike says XRP as well. Makes sense, cross-border payments. And you know who was right? Ray says XRP as well. Nobody was right. Not a single person was right. Actually, I'm just joking. So Genos was right, Bull XRP was right, Mike was right, and Ray was right as well. XRP. 4 years ago, there was a PDF documentation from the Central Bank of Russia. And on those PDF documentations, it was written regarding which particular crypto asset they were testing on for their payments. And the word Ripple was written all over that document. Now, some people might say, well, that's just Ripple, it's not XRP. Well, the letters XRP was written all over that PDF document as well. So for anybody out there that's might for a second think, well, it's just Ripple. No, the words Ripple and XRP were written all over that document 4 years ago. Which we fast forward to today, where Ripple makes an announcement that their CBDC is coming out now. I just want to point out as well that, a lot of people, this is why I say to a lot of people as well, that things take time. When you hear, Ripple signs a new partnership and everybody goes, oh, well, the price doesn't move. Yes, it shouldn't move technically. Because in the movies, when two companies, sign a contract, everybody makes millions of dollars the next day. In reality, when two companies sign a contract, they go into deep develop modes and testings and research and money and so on, until they're ready to launch whatever they're launching to see the movement happening. So 4 years ago was the testings, and fast forward to today, Russia is seeking to fast track the launch of its long-awaited central bank digital currency CBDC, known as the digital ruble. The currency is set to launch next year, and XRP might have a role to play, according to documents published by the top 4 banks 4 years ago. The Bank of Russia has been researching and developing the digital ruble for nearly 3 years. Speaking recently at the Black Sea Resort in the city of Sochi, the governor revealed essentially that the bank's research has proven that the digital ruble can work and that expects the rollout in the masses in 2025. We would like to oblige banks to process digital ruble transactions stage by stage, she stated, the governor. At first, these should be systematically important banks who are more prepared than banks with a universal license, followed by banks with a basic license, she said. The same should be done in relations to trade and service companies. They should start accepting digital ruble payments gradually, similar to how that was done with non-cash transactions. The official launch of the digital ruble would be monumentous for the entire crypto industry and the rise of CBDCs. It will be the first major economy to launch its CBDC alongside China, with other industries like China and the European Union still pulling their punches on the launch of their versions of CBDCs. Now, China has this launch of a CBDC. It's just they haven't implemented it in the masses. They're still getting there, but they're taking it step by step. But they were the first country in CBDCs. But Russia is doing a different approach. They're going to be releasing their CBDC, Russian ruble, in the masses. They're going to go full frontal. Everybody has a CBDC. Not like China or any other country that's launching it in groups still. Currently, only smaller economies like Nigeria, Jamaica, and Bahamas have launched their CBDCs as well. CBDCs have seen as rivals to cryptos, especially in the movement of money, instantly cheaper and across borders. However, for XRP, the digital ruble might work in its favor. Funny that. Very funny. As I've always said, 24,000 plus crypto projects and only one. And, according to the Bank of International Settlements, 98% of centralized banks are in CBDCs. 98% of centralized banks are in CBDCs. And we have, 24,000 plus crypto projects, but only one has an active CBDC platform. One crypto project, XRP, has an active CBDC platform. 98% of centralized banks are in CBDCs. Of course, there's no coincidence whatsoever there. And that one particular XRP token, or Ripple in other words, has won multiple, essentially, CBDC awards. So CBDCs have been seen as a rival to cryptos, which is true. because they're instantly cheaper on the cross borders and so on. But however, even though CBDCs are a rival to cryptos, for XRP, the digital ruble might work in its favor. You don't say. In a CBDC world, a CBDC token doing great. I mean, I never saw that coming. It's very new to me. This is British sarcasm, if anybody's wondering. A document published in 2020 shows that the XRP was one of the platforms the Bank Russia considered for its digital currency. In 2020, the PDF documentation that came out, Russia's central bank considering XRP, with multiple detailed, essentially diagrams of how XRP is going to be used. That was 4 years ago. And then they went into deep development modes, and you fast forward to today, and Russia's getting ready to launch their ruble. Published by researchers from the essentially Federal University in Russia, it revealed the Apex Bank conducted pilots on XRP even back in 2028 for cross-border settlements. Based on the research results, it was concluded that Ripple's platform can be considered as the basics for starting work on creating a system for cross-border settlements, the paper said. So I'm guessing the results were successful for, Ripple and XRP and so on, because they considered it for starting their crypto projects on it. However, to be considered, the XRP system must be integrated into national payment systems and have a recollection system and have set XRP fiat conversion systems and maintain correspondence dictionaries between the addresses of accounts of Ripple network participants and the accounts of the banks they serve on national payment systems. Well, if you look at the positive side, every other crypto project that was started out inside the cryptocurrency world. So here's our ways that crypto projects started out. Some crypto projects were funded by VC companies. Some crypto projects were funded by essentially people themselves to start up. Some crypto projects were funded by scammers to start up. Some crypto projects were started in someone's bedroom. And some crypto projects were made by unknown people. You know what Ripple goes in the category of? Do you know why Ripple, essentially is aside from everybody else? Ripple developed itself since day one alongside banks, which gives it an edge. They developed Ripple alongside banks day one. And now, 98% of centralized banks around the world are on CBDCs. According to the Bank of International Settlements, 63 centralized banks are under the Bank of International Settlements. And then Ripple developed itself alongside banks, having one main purpose, to work in the banking system. They actually kept on going to the banks and saying, does this work? Does that not work? Does this work? And the banks kept on giving Ripple feedback, saying, you should do this, you should do that. So Ripple kept on going back into the drawing boards and coming back to the banks and saying, does this work now? That's how they worked alongside the banks to develop. Now we're 90% of centralized banks in CBDCs, multiple CBDC awards, active CBDC platform from Ripple, so many other things. And people still doubt it. It's odd. Because people cannot comprehend 98% centralized banks and CBDCs, one token for CBDCs, active CBDC platform, multiple CBDC awards. You don't see the line? Also, Russia fast-tracking their CBDC. Russia's documentation shows 4 years ago, they were developing and testing on the XRP ledger. The letters XRP stated all over that PDF documentation. The letters Ripples all over that documentation as well. That was 4 years ago. Because things take time. So for next time, anybody out there who's still thinking to themselves, oh, Ripple made a new partner, man, big deal. Ripple made a new partner, big deal. Who cares? Nothing happens. Yes, nothing should happen. When two companies sign a contract together, nothing should happen. Only in Hollywood, everybody makes millions of dollars the next day. In real life, two companies sign a contract, nothing happens. Do you know what? In terms of price, nothing happens. Do you know what actually happens? They go into research mode, development mode, testing mode for years until they're ready to launch whatever they're launching. And then the price action comes. So Before I leave you there on a positive note, Russia's 4-year plan starting 2020, or you could say starting 2008 when it started doing cross-border testings on the XRP ledger. Fast forward to 2020, when they started doing more testing, develop their CBDC movements, and actually saying that it's actually a great platform to develop on. Fast forward to now, where they're getting ready to launch a CBDC 2025. They're fast tracking it, so they might even fast track it even more. So there's a positive note there for you. And if you still can't see, regarding XRP, regarding CBDCs, regarding 98% of centralized bank CBDCs, you still can't see that. You can't see the coincidence in that matter, because to be honest, there are no coincidence. It's coordination. Everything inside the corporate sector is coordinated. There's no such thing as coincidence. Always remember that. Everybody will tell you, don't go to XRP, don't go to Ripple. It's a useless asset, is what people will tell you. All I can say is, if you spend 4, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years inside the crypto space, if you spend 7 years inside the crypto space, 5 years, 6 years, 4 years inside the crypto space, and we go into a CBDC world, which we're not that far off from. You can tell when the CBDCs are coming off. Some countries are fast tracking it. And we go into a CBDC world, and you spend your times inside the crypto space chasing, camel token or frog token or donkey token. You spend 6 years of your life chasing camel tokens and dog tokens and cat tokens and giraffe tokens and zebra tokens, or 7 years of your life inside the crypto space, or 4 years or 2 years, and we go to a CBDC world. You get left behind. That's on you. Because we should have been doing inside the cryptocurrency space and not get distracted. Even inside the cryptocurrency space, they'll distract you. They'll distract you from core assets. Governments will distract you from core assets. People will distract you from core assets. People who believe they're intelligent will distract you from core assets. Influencers will distract you from core assets. So, if you spend 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, whatever years inside the crypto space, and we go to a CBDC world, and you're not holding the very token that was in your eyes from the start, behind all of these CBDCs, 98% of centralized banks are in CBDCs, Bank of International Settlements. Ironically, the Bank of International Settlements has another PDF document titled Cross-Border Payments. On that list says Swift, Ripple. So, what the F were you doing inside the crypto space all this time, is what I wanted to say, honestly. If you spent 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, 4 years inside the crypto space, and you spent it all on donkey tokens and zebra tokens and giraffe tokens, what the F were you doing once we reach the CBDC world? Because here's the thing. The majority of you are inside the crypto space for a better life, correct? The majority of people inside the crypto space are in the crypto space for a better life. You're in the crypto space to buy yourself a house later on, to start your own business later on, to buy your family a property, to buy your parents a property, to do whatever. But you're inside the crypto space to bring something positive to your life later on. And you're chasing zebra tokens to make a quick buck. And we're about to go to a CBDC world. You get left behind, that's on you. You can't blame the crypto influencers who told you XRP is bad, even though they're morons. You can't blame the crypto influencers who told you XRP is bad. That's on you. You can't blame the people around you who told you not to get into XRP. That's on you. You get left behind in the CBDC world, your fault. And trust me, that's one mistake you don't want to do. Being stuck in a CBDC world. So don't waste a minute. Don't waste a second, a minute, a day, a week, a year inside the crypto space. If you're inside the crypto space, you are well ahead of everybody else around you who isn't. So don't waste a single second on utter trash or nonsense inside the crypto space. Keep your head down and focus on what's the end result. And the end result is a CBDC world. If you still can't see that, then I'm sorry for you. But the end result of a digital world is a CBDC world, is where we're heading. So be prepared for a CBDC world, or your life will become extremely miserable in a CBDC world. Now, so don't spend your golden minutes inside the crypto space on trash. Chasing unicorns, basically. We have also reached the endings of tonight's live show. If you're watching this for the first time and you were wondering, who is this guy who's trying to tell me what to do? Who's this guy trying to give me information? Who's this guy reading the news to me? My name is Miles. I go by the persona of Crypto Miles. This is a live show that I do. This is episode 175 of the CMF live show, where I share you the news, give you some perspectives. We do Q&As and quizzes, and it's completely free. It's been free for the past 175 episodes every single night. And I would suggest, if you're watching this for the first time, if you're not following me already, if you're watching this on YouTube, you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Tune into it every single night. It's completely free. Now, I'll never charge you a single penny. I've never charged anyone a single penny. For over 2 years now. I haven't sold anything for over 2 years. Just sharing you information that you should know about. I don't make a single penny out of this at all. So, if you're watching us on YouTube, follow me. If you already haven't, subscribe. If you're watching us on X, follow me as well. And tune into this live show every single night. This is episode 175 of the CMF live show. Every single night, I'll share you the most valuable news in terms of crypto, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, and give you a rundown of what's about to happen next. And whatever I say typically happens next. The more you watch, the more you find out what I mean by that. So, follow me if you already haven't. Retweet, like everybody if you enjoyed this live show, CMF members. And we also have our own Telegram group as well, which is also free. Anybody's more than welcome to join it, and everybody's very respectful in those Telegram groups. And on tonight's live show, we talked about some major news. We talked about regarding Bank of Russia and XRP, which is incredibly positive. Then we also talked about essentially JP Morgan on tonight's live shows, or giving their perspective on the market space as well. We talked about a Bitcoin IPO on tonight's live show, which is something that's going to be approved soon. We also talked about on tonight's live show regarding the matters of who's going to replace Gary Gensler. 3 candidates are in position to replace Gary Gensler right now. We also went through the news topic of the US government can now actually sell their Bitcoin holdings. They got green-lighted by a Supreme Court. We also went, which is major news as well, we also went through the news topic of Telegram right now being investigated by the UN. The United Nations is right now investigating Telegram, which is not good for the Ton ecosystem. We also talked about tonight's live show regarding UBS predicting a market movement happening on China. We also talked about on tonight's live show regarding the SEC to hold an urgent meeting. And could it be a possible sit-down with Ripple? Who knows? We'll find out later on in a few days. We also talked about the National Bank of Bahrain on tonight's live show, which is major news as well, because they're introducing a Bitcoin investment fund alongside United Arab Emirates, alongside Qatar, Bahrain, alongside Qatar, Kuwait as well. We also talked about tonight's live show regarding United Arab Emirates offering tax-free transactions of cryptocurrencies and FTX repaying everybody with cash. So, if you enjoyed tonight's live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. This is the CMF live show. Starts around 11:25 p.m. UK time every single night. Follow me. Click the little bell icon on X if you want to follow me so you get notified when I go live every single night, same time. And also subscribe to my YouTube. Click the little bell icon so you know when I go live. Or join a Telegram group because I let everybody know 5 minutes before I go live every single night. So if you enjoyed tonight's live, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. And yeah, I thought we'll end on a positive note. Don't worry, your XRPs are safe and smooth sailing is what I would say. I also put out a tweet today just to reassurance people because a lot of people are asking the question of Bitcoin, will Bitcoin miss the bull run again? Will Bitcoin lose out on a bull run again? And my tweet said actually that, I'll tell you now, this is what I said. I said, which I stand by it 1,000,000,000%. This is the tweet I sent on X communities. Also join the X communities of the CMF. We have an X community on CMF. Join it, everyone, if you already haven't. So this is what my tweet was, and I stand by it 1,000,000,000%. I said, many think XRP we'll miss the bull run. The upcoming surge will be a utility-focused market because of the institutions, banks, and regulations. We're going into a utility stage. And XRP's utility will far outshine its competitors, with banks and financial institutions backing it. XRP isn't just a part of this next run coming, it's poised to lead it. Not even Gary Gensler can stop what's coming, which I stand by 1,000,000,000%. So, if you enjoyed tonight's live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. Join the X Communities page of CMF as well. CMF stands for Crypto Mouse Family, which anybody's more than welcome to join the family, and it's completely free for life. And you can always direct message me as well, completely free. So I never charge any money. You can direct message me, call me, and I'll give you a perspective. I'll give you a perspective on whatever you're asking me on. Yep, no money charge whatsoever. Join. Let's see what's in the comment section. My comment didn't make sense, but know what I mean, Miles, in relation to Ripple and people saying that institutions, corporations won't use XRP. There is few people saying that Ripple and XRP are not the same. The people that are saying Ripple and XRP are not the same, in a short situation, in a short way to say, they're morons. Anybody that thinks Ripple is not XRP, XRP is not Ripple, they're morons. The easiest way I could put it. I did say that coming either long. You've been telling us for a long time. Let's go. I thought Russia was going to just mix it up a bit, long, using something else. And that's why I still don't get it, that people don't understand what XRP is doing. But remember, a lot of the CMF members just came across you. Let's go. Good night, Miles and CMF. Mike, see you tomorrow, but sometimes usual facts. You're a legend, so dedicated to helping us all. Night and day to all CMF. Shelly, see you tomorrow, sometimes usual as well. Good night, Miles, and thank you for another great program. See you tomorrow, sometimes usual. Scott, Miles, we are so lucky to have you. Thank you, G. See you tomorrow, sometimes usual. Thank you, Miles. And if you don't know Miles, thank your blessings that you have come across him, because he's a real one. JP, thank you so much for the kind words, brother. If you're enjoying the live, please share it. Let's go. Scott, see you tomorrow, sometimes as usual. Good night, Miles, and thanks for another great program. Scott, see you tomorrow, brother, sometimes as usual. Shelly, let's go. Good night, everyone. Thanks for a great show again, Miles. Let's go, Bill XRP, and I'll see everybody tomorrow. I will see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. Have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world.